There we go. We are live.
I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And surprise, we're the CRM Playaz.
And we're your best. And we're made real.
And this is what we call a pop-up watch party. We just decided to do it at the spur of the moment. But it is one of the big, six?
Yeah.
One of the big six. It's SAP Sapphire. Taking place in beautiful Orlando?
No, absolutely not. Worst city in the country for conference going Orlando.
And yet there are so many conferences that
unbelievable. I don't know how they put. I guess Disney pulls the wool over their eyes.
Good old Walt.
That's right, man. The guy is still spinning fantasy.
But anyway, yes, it is Tuesday morning. Believe you and me, kind of surprised that we're even up at this point, but we are. And maybe the first comment is, why is this starting at 8:30 in the morning?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they're just doing it so that people will come in annoyed, right? Because it's certainly a ridiculous hour for keynote speech. And it could be what you mentioned earlier, though, that they're allowing for the fact they're going to have virtual German audiences, which is their homeland headquarters.
Yeah, and so if there is anybody out there awake, let us know if you can hear us okay. We're just kind of getting set up, see what happens. As you can see, the keynote hasn't started yet. Got that great kind of techno music, I guess, playing in the background. So we're just keeping our eyes on things until it gets started. All right, so before it does get started, do you have any things that you're actually looking out for in this keynote?
Well, yeah, I mean, I have to sort of, to be fair to the people listening in or watching clips later, I have to be honest about something. I don't particularly like SAP and haven't for a while. So part of my thinking will be clouded by that, I suspect. That said, am I looking for anything? Not particularly. Will I be surprised by some things? I hope in a good way. Their culture is their culture. It's never going to be good to me. I don't care but what they present today might be valuable. I don't know. So I'm not looking for anything specific. How about you?
I think when it comes to SAP, I always try to see how CX is represented in the opening keynote, because traditionally SAP is an ERP company, so
yeah,
I want to see if CX is actually gaining traction in terms of importance and relevancy within SAP.
Well, my problem with that generally, not with what you're looking for, but their CX is they always say they are, and I heard they were, and guess what? They pivot away from it as soon as they can.
All right, so here we go.
I guess he's Mr. Cool and Casual this morning.
We have seen, all of us face one.
Did he even say like hello, welcome?
No, he just started right into his speech.
That's kind of strange.
And that problem is uncertainty. Uncertainty about trade disruption, about
wait a minute, is there an audience there?
About how
there has to be. That place is cavernous.
Business and impact my workforce. And while SAP can't take away macroeconomic uncertainty, we would wish we can. My commitment to you.
Every year he says my commitment to you is something. And every year I don't see it, but never happens.
More competitive, especially in times like these. We will help you to bring out your best.
That's their thing. Your best are, what was it?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, they was flashing that slogan throughout the beginning of the thing, nonstop.
I mean, he just came out
without a word, not even, hey, welcome to Sapphire.
Yeah,
nothing.
And we will show you
once again, proof of culture.
Get you to the business
SAP's
in the cloud.
Horrible culture.
Making your wise and grow with SAP journey even faster.
He's
Simpler
been the CEO for
and
what? How
at
like
lower
7 or 8?
cost.
Because he was
Yeah.
CEO before the
Finally,
pandemic, right?
Yeah. Well, and
we
don't
will
forget he was
close out the
co-CEO
keynote
with
with a
the other
very
guy.
special announcement
No, with Jen
about
Morgan, right?
how our technology will
No,
power
well,
one of the most
that's right. He
famous
was Jen
golf
Morgan.
tournaments
Who
in
was
the
the
world.
one? Oh, McDermott was
Believe it or
co-CEO.
not, I will
Oh, that
compete live on
Snabe
stage
guy.
Yeah,
with
Agamen
two golfers
Snabe.
one
yeah.
golf.
I just realized it's
A
two
dream come true,
co-CEOs
but
and
I
then
have
one
to admit
wins.
that is the part
That's
of
how
the
they seem to
keynote which
do it
makes me
there.
know
And then they have
most
those
nervous.
weird
Because
triumvirate
so
things they
far,
do in the
my golf
practice
experience has
areas,
been
like
limited
3
to mini
people
golf.
running each practice. Hopefully they
And
got rid
last
of that. I
time
don't know.
when I
That was the
played, I lost to
dumbest thing
my
I ever
5 year
heard.
old
The
daughter.
CEO
So
Hunger Games.
this will
Only
be
one.
Yeah.
somehow an exciting finish to the keynote. Now, let's get started by showing you how SAP's Business Suite with embedded AI will reimagine how employees will work and businesses will run. And we would like to demonstrate you the
Sadly,
power of
as
SAP's
personable
Business
as he's
AI
trying to
with the
be,
flywheel
the
effect.
very fact he didn't start with
Why
welcome to
the flywheel?
Sapphire, hello
Now,
people,
That's
is
really
unreal to me.
kind of
It's like,
the
interesting.
flywheel is about
hi,
individual elements
uncertainty.
coming together to create
Maybe
new energy.
maybe the
And here comes
broadcast
the
of the
SAP
keynote
flywheel.
started, but he started the
The
keynote
first
before the
element
broad. I don't
of
know.
the
It's
I
kind of
SAP
weird.
don't know.
flywheel is our
Either
applications.
way, really, really
Not
bad
only
form,
do
as
we
they
have
say.
the broadest
That's usually
application
like one of the
portfolio in
first things they
the industry,
say. Like
we
Bill
also run the
McDermott.
most mission
I want to
critical
welcome
business processes
the
end
biggest
to end.
ServiceNow
So
audience
no one
ever.
understands
25,000
business
people. I was like,
and
okay.
The
industry
worst
like
speakers,
SAP
the
does.
worst speakers on CEO speakers
After
will still
applications
at least
comes the
welcome the
second element
audience,
of the flywheel,
right?
data.
Larry Ellison,
The
who
ads
is,
give us the
good some
richest
years
treasure
and
of
not good
mission
other
critical
years,
business data.
Larry Ellison always
No
welcomes
other
people, even
tech
though he does it in
company
his own
has
way, but he
more
does it.
access to semantically rich business data. And now
Wow.
the data feeds into the third
You
element
can't
of
really
the
see the
flywheel,
audience, can
AI.
you?
That's what I'm saying. I'm not
Because
sure there's a
having
real
access
audience
to an
there.
enormous amount
I don't see a
of
single
business
person.
data is key
He
to
didn't even
develop
say like
extremely
there where
powerful
he is.
business
Like
data.
No.
And then we make the
I'm thinking
flywheel
he's in a
spin
giant
by
room and
infusing
this
AI
was
back into the apps
pre-recorded and
which
there are
run
no
your company.
people.
So
I don't hear
the
any
broadest portfolio of
sound,
apps gives us
background
vast
sound at
amounts
all.
of mission
Nothing.
critical
wouldn't it
data
be crazy if he's
to
like in
set us up
Germany and
with
he's
clever,
he's actually
powerful
doing a
business
virtual
AI.
keynote?
And before I hand over to my board colleague Muhammad Alam to share more details, let's see the flywheel in action, showing how a company can manage uncertainty with the power of SAP's Business Suite and AI. Let's go.
There is
There,
no
there,
sound. There's nobody there.
there is literally nobody there. No wonder
You
you
can
didn't
literally
welcome
hear
them.
him. You can hear him walking up. I mean,
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Sebastian, Lauda, Vinita, and I are stepping into the role of the C-suite. I'm playing the CFO.
wow.
And
I mean,
I've
there
just
was
gotten off
no
the call
warm
with our
up, no
CEO,
opening.
Christian. Bad news.
And no people.
Tariffs are
No,
back on the table. So much for
I
the
think they might be in Germany. This is. I mean, I don't know, but it
CFO,
just.
I know how
I've never
quickly
heard
No.
it where there's
can
no
hit our
sound.
margins
No.
and throw off our forecasts, unless we act fast. But here's the difference today. Because everything's connected in one suite, I'm not waiting around. The answers are right there, exactly when I need them. The moment the tariff bulletin drops,
Well,
my
at least
AI
the
agent
production
will
is
expose
actually
like
good.
Yeah,
+5
they've
of
been
our
doing
key
good for years.
products.
And
But
I'll say without knowing the
SAP
details of what I'm
International Trade
seeing here,
Management, we stay ahead.
one thing they've been
Automating trade
doing
flows,
much better in
adapting
the last,
classifications,
well,
and
actually, they've
staying
been doing it
compliant
much better
in
for the
over
last,
160
let's
countries.
see, 18
There's
years,
no
really,
delay,
which is
no
their
endless back and forth.
UI
The
is
classifications are
considerably
done,
better. Look how nice that
compliance
is.
is covered,
Yeah, very
and
clean.
we're ready to move.
Simple.
My AI classification agent simply prompts me to
I can actually,
review the
I can read
details
it.
and confirm. By automating and securing compliance from the start, we make it a non-issue,
Well, that's a
freeing
good
me
thing.
up to focus on bigger strategic decisions.
Again, to their credit, they're
Next,
concerning
I need to
themselves with
understand the
compliance
financial
immediately,
impact.
which I
But
never
instead
hear
of
people
stitching
say,
together spreadsheets and chasing
even
down
though I'm
data
sure
from
everyone
multiple
takes care
teams
of
and
it.
tools, I can see the full picture right here. Planning and margin simulations side by side, showing exactly how tariffs affect our forecasts and
Oh,
where the pressure points are.
interesting.
But now comes the critical question.
Including tariffs
What's the right move?
in the demo.
Well, the heat map lays it out. I can compare 3 options instantly, explore each path, and clearly see the real trade-offs across revenue, margin, and
That's
risk.
nice. I remember
One strategy stands
almost
out, a
decades,
coordinated
almost 20 years
approach
ago when I went to an
combining
SAP
working
event,
capital
they
optimization
showed
and
there was a
targeted
partner
growth
there
and
that
sales
did
mix.
heat maps of SAP
Together,
deployments
these
and
levers protect
data,
our gross margin,
and it was
manage
really,
cost
really
of goods
impressive.
sold,
And
and
obviously,
keep us
they
on
have a
course
simple
for
version
profitable
here, but
growth,
it really nicely
even in the
incorporated.
face of tariff pressures. And this isn't guesswork. The financial impact is clear before we commit. And because this is all built on a connected suite, this becomes a unified plan across finance, supply chain, sales, and HR, aligned and ready to execute. Finally, it's time to act. Jules scans our financial data for liquidity opportunities and presents me with two clear strategic options, whether that's adjusting payment terms or exploring financing opportunities with SAP Taulia. A single click releases 1 million euros in working capital. No disruption, no waiting. In minutes, I can select the lever that aligns with our liquidity strategy and take action. This isn't just another report. It's a clear decision I can act on fast and with confidence. Protecting our bottom line matters, but real success means growing top-line growth. And that's where I hand over to our Chief Revenue Officer, Sebastian. Over to you.
Thank you, Laura.
I'm so used to hearing
Now
some
that we've
kind of
established
sound.
compliance
Nothing.
and understood financial impact, it's time to shift gears from defense to offense. I'm stepping into the role of a Chief Revenue Officer, and my focus is clear. How do we sustain growth? Managing growth at times of uncertainty means staying agile. I need to dig deeper. How do we convert our current pipeline and achieve the revised revenue targets? Which markets and segments are bringing new opportunities? SAP Sales Cloud and SAP Business Data Cloud help me to easily estimate my realistic attainment with the AI-driven predictive forecast.
Really interesting how
I see the critical risks highlighted
some keynotes
and can plan initiatives to
kind of
safeguard
showcase
any revenue leak.
the
Coupled with
company
market data,
in some
I
way
arrive at
beyond
segments with
get
notable
right
growth
into the
potential
demos.
and decide to launch targeted demand generation
I'm
campaigns
just so
using SAP
so
Marcus.
interesting.
Here on, it's all about execution. And in today's world, selling needs
Well,
to be
right now, I mean,
integrated
the
and
problem,
connected across
the
full
upside of
customer
this is that
lifecycle,
they obviously are
enabling
putting
sellers
together
to
a very
respond to
strong
exceptions quicker. In
ERP
SAP
or
Sales
enterprise
Cloud, my
product. I don't
frontline
know
sales teams
about
are
enterprise, but at
empowered with
least
key
ERP
insights and autonomous
related product.
agents
The
and,
downside
of course,
is
an amazing user
CEOs
experience
and
to mitigate
keynote
risk,
speeches are supposed to be
improve velocity,
visionary.
and drive trust with
And
Yes,
sales.
I guess so.
this is as
They're
far
able to
from visionary
prepare
as I've
and
ever
build
seen.
compelling
But
quotes using SAP
that's
CPQ,
okay. It's not
leveraging
horrible. It could be
market-specific
mission
dynamic
driven
pricing
too.
insights.
When if you're a mission driven,
Even with
non-visionary
uncertain
company.
market conditions,
So
the connected
you
suite
know,
and embedded insights
Well,
I
here's the thing
ensure that my
about
sales
like,
teams are
and I,
staying the
I
way.
that's
In
actually
a
a pretty good
nutshell,
demo,
SAP's
but it
AI-powered
feels
sales,
like it's
service,
a bit
commerce, and CPQ
too
solutions
good.
is
You know,
not
like
just closing
it
deals
feels like
and
it's
resolving issues.
scripted and
We're
canned,
building
it's
lifetime
definitely
relationships
that.
and lasting
which
revenue streams.
kind of takes a little bit away
Now that our
from,
customer-facing
you
strategy is
know,
gaining momentum, the next
it
step
just
is to
feels like
ensure
this
that
is
our
all
operations and supply chain
very
can
scripted.
also support
Well,
constant agility.
I'm pretty sure
I need close
you're on
alignment
the
with our
nose
chief
with that. I
operating
mean, I did.
officer
If you do
to
remember though,
balance
Christian
both
Klein
your
said right
Thanks,
before
Sebastian.
he turned it over and said
Now that we have a clear
he
sales
said
strategy
that
aligned with our financial plan,
before
it's time to make sure our
I
supply
turn it
chain
over
is
to
ready to deliver.
my bot
I'm stepping into the
companion,
role of Chief
so
Operating
that maybe
Officer,
that
where
they're going to do a
execution meets
live
resilience.
bot
As
thing
COO, my
later.
first move is to respond
Well,
to
I
the
think his
updated
bot
demand projections
companion
I just
is
received
the
from
guy
our
in charge of
CRO.
that stuff. Is that
With
Alam?
Joule, SAP's
Somebody?
Oh,
AI
the
pilot,
actual
the
guy.
real
I thought
supply
he's
chain
going to
scenario
talk
is
with a
created
bot.
No,
automatically,
I don't think that's
and
gonna
Joule guides
be.
me through the next
I mean,
Well,
that would be better. I mean,
yeah, well, that would be. That's
That's
what I'm saying. That would be more towards your point about
new regional
not
dimensions
scripted, because
directly
anything
in
go
SAP
wrong with that.
integrated business planning. These automatically updates our supply strategy and transportation plans, immediately flagging key
I mean,
exceptions that need my
when you think
attention.
about kind of,
As I review the scenario, I realize the regional
I
shift
hate to
puts
do this,
pressure on
but
upstream supply.
well,
Using
I've been
SAP Business
comparing most
Network,
of
I can quickly
the
collaborate
keynotes
with our
to
suppliers,
Jensen,
confirming component
which was
availability and securing
completely
logistics capacity early,
different than this
minimizing
one.
bottleneck risk.
And maybe
This is,
that's,
by the way,
you know,
much more
the
effective than
part of that
my
is because
old
of
method, the
the
avalanche of daily
charisma and the
inbound.
personalities that are
To stay
involved here.
ahead of
But
risk,
this
I
really
Well,
quickly
feels
adjust the
different.
supply chain
well,
plan with
to
finance
your
and
point,
sales in real time.
this is
Together, we
100%
fine-tune the sales
scripted.
plan,
There's
ensuring we meet
apparently
demand
no
without
live
unnecessary
audience.
inventory
Although
buildup
I
or financial
queried
losses.
Copilot on that,
And
gave
the
me a
best part,
really
I can
strange
execute
answer.
the entire
said, I asked, is the SAP Sapphire 2025 keynote by Christian Klein being done with a live audience? And it came back and said, yes. But listen to what it said. The SAP Sapphire 2025 keynote by Christian Klein will be delivered live at Sapphire and ASUG in Orlando from May 19th, yesterday, to May 21st. There will also be a virtual event on May 20th and 21st, where attendees can access live stream keynotes, exclusive interviews, and interactive sessions. So
could we actually be watching a recorded thing?
But there's no people in that audience
across our organization to meet the growing
at least none that you can see. And if there are and they're leaving that dynamic out, they're out of their minds.
Well, maybe we at some point we'll get a chance.
Whoop, everything froze.
Intelligence in business data
Froze for a second.
That would be really strange.
Yeah, really
providing real-time insights to identify gaps, prioritize upskilling, and guide our workforce strategy. For example, which employees already have the skills we need to fill critical gaps? These analytical insights allow us to proactively plan, recruit.
They haven't done sales yet that I can see.
And the future. Rather than
maybe that's where the other guy comes in.
It's not just about short-term fulfillment. It's also about getting the right people into the right roles at the right time, regardless of the source. That's true workforce agility. Back to you, Laura.
See, the one downside to the demo is it's just showing analytic screens. It's not doing anything. It's just kind of showing a bunch of screens with results on them.
Yeah,
so you have no idea how this actually works.
Whereas last week at Zoe Hall, Raju was literally doing a live demo.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Applause.
There are people. How do you not show an audience? I mean, I hate to say it, that does make it worse. How do you not show an audience?
Yeah, there's no pans out.
Nothing. And now that they've isolated the sound to the point that there's no ambience at all.
Coming up or going down.
Oh, there he is.
There is some laughter.
But listen, Christian talked about our quest to reimagine business applications.
There was applause, so there's an audience there. Holy crap, it's astounding.
How could they have been that quiet?
For that to happen.
Well, no, this is sound isolation. That's what it is. But the way the mics are placed.
You want the ambient noise of the crowd.
Oh, they are missing the boat completely here. They think that the important thing only is the presentation, and they're missing the fact this is a conference with people at it. Oh, wow. That is really stupid.
Every day. Now, the flywheel effect isn't a new concept. In fact, a lot of you in the audience, particularly the CIOs, have been working hard to enable this for your businesses. Most organizations have a very disparate and heterogeneous application landscape built over time.
Ooh, I almost saw a movement of a person. Almost. No, I see one. I saw a person move.
I saw something.
Yeah, it was some movement of a human.
This requires you then to spend a significant amount of money and effort integrating.
That is a production decision I will never understand.
Yep, you are definitely right, John.
That's what it is, John. They literally are focused on sound isolation rather than bringing the audience into this. Totally missed the idea.
Your business. From here, you then need to extract and bring the disparate data sets into a single place to try to harmonize the various data models, just so you can create
disparate or disparate
for your users in yet another application.
Yeah, so wherever you're from, you said
I just wonder.
I think I say disparate most of the time.
That's what I say too, but maybe we're wrong.
From the source application, it loses its semantical context and puts a massive burden.
Now he's interesting. He's looking right into the camera there. It looks like
these are not one and done efforts.
Like he knew to look at that camera, that one particular camera. That was He's a
little
little bit
again.
more
These are
natural.
rehearsed, but they are rehearsed.
They are, but he's a little bit more natural of a speaker. I think.
Well, he's just a better speaker. Period.
This fragile balance of apps and
I
data,
was trying to be
leaving
nice.
only 20% of your resources to focus on value creation. Very much like an iceberg, you spend most of your time
on work that's happening under the surface, invisible to the business. And just like we can only see the tip of the iceberg, only a small portion of the value you create for your business truly stands out. This fragile balance has existed for a while, but it now breaks down completely in the age of AI. Because to create exponential value, you need to have your data available with the end-to-end business process context, and enabling this in a disparate, disconnected landscape is just close to impossible.
You know, that's
It leaves
actually
you
a
then
little
with a less
disingenuous, since
reliable
every
and
vendor is
disconnected
applying
AI
themselves
agentic
to that.
experience, or even worse,
Every
Yeah.
single
you're
one.
forced to
Everybody
build
says that
yet
same message.
another
As if
set of
they're the only
complex
ones who are
one-off
really
integrations
solving it.
to stitch together an AI
Yeah.
experience that tries to create the elusive end-to-end context, suboptimally at best.
How do you know that?
So how did we get here? We got here because admittedly,
All the
suite
vendors are the
players,
same on
including
that one. They
us,
make these
were
statements that
not
they have absolutely no
innovating
proof
fast
of.
enough
They just
in
say
the
it.
various domains.
And
Everyone
then,
In some
they expect
cases,
everyone to just
we
believe
were
it.
also not fast enough in integrating
Well, he said
our own
suboptimally.
applications or providing a harmonized data model, leaving almost as much work for you to do as if you were implementing a non-SAP application.
Oh my God,
To
who
fill
would do that?
this capability and integration void came the best of breed players, which have now proliferated landscapes. This is what has led to the iceberg effect, which couldn't be any farther from the flywheel effect you need in the age of AI. So what can you
Who
do?
was the one who said, "Oh, that's
You can
what
either
Jensen said"? He was talking about
further
the flywheel
complicate your
Yeah.
landscape
when he's talking
by
about
adding
what they're doing with
yet
ServiceNow.
Well,
another
I think
layer of tech,
pretty much
whether from workflow
I'm
providers
thinking
or
now,
from platform
of all the
providers, where
vendors,
you knowingly or unknowingly shift
the only
more
one who I haven't
towards
heard
the
talk
iceberg
about it in particular.
versus the
Wait, let me
flywheel.
think.
Or you can simplify it
Again, it doesn't
by
mean they're not
moving
doing
towards
it. I
the
just haven't heard
landscape
them
that
mention
enables
flywheel with
the
Oracle, and
flywheel
that's it.
out of the
The other
box.
ones
Today,
have all
you
talked one
have
way or the other
that
about
choice
flywheel effect.
because we believe the differentiation that best of breed had to offer doesn't exist anymore.
Now that's
Just
an
as
interesting
the
way of saying it.
infrastructure layer, while still critical,
Well, given
has been
coming from a
commoditized
company
by
that
the
claims to
cloud,
be end to
the
end, it's
application
particularly
layer, while still being mission critical,
not
will get
surprising.
commoditized in the age
Yeah, but
of
most of
AI.
them still. I mean, I haven't heard them
I
say
know.
that particular
No,
statement.
no, I'm with you.
I think
Actually,
it's
I'm just
correct, but I
will
haven't heard any
all
of
be
these guys say that
marginalized
before.
with AI.
the question is how are they
Today,
saying
what we offer
you should
is
buy our entire
best of
suite, or are they
breed
saying
as
the
a suite.
approaches to
It's
full
not
across?
an either
Because if you think of
or
Oracle,
choice
ServiceNow,
anymore
all
for
of
the
them are
players.
building partnerships with the
Best
other
of
tech
breed
companies
as
with the
a suite,
purpose
or what
of the
we
fact
call
that
suite
each
as
one
a
of them
service,
probably
the new
each
SaaS is what will
potential
allow
customer
you
is
to
probably
take
using some other
advantage of
systems,
the flywheel
meaning
effect.
best of breed in some way, right?
In
That
the age of
terminology
AI, true differentiation will
notwithstanding.
lie in
So
how
they're
you
saying
create
no,
value
only by
from this
us.
Well,
end-to-end
I think what they're
context
Way to
saying,
justify
for
it.
your
I think
organization.
kind of what they're
This
saying,
can
and
only
I've
happen
heard
when you
that
simplify
message
and
a
innovate
couple
your
of different
core,
times.
and
We
not
have
add another layer of
this AI stuff
complexity
works
to your
best if you
landscape.
have more
Best of
of
breed
data and
on
more
its
disparate
own is
data
a thing of the
across,
past. Today,
a
the
suite of
value of the
applications.
suite,
And
without
if you want the
compromising
best
on
from your AI,
feasibility or
being
experience,
able to
is
easily
the
get the
future.
data
And you
aggregated in one
now
place will
have that
allow you to
choice
feed that.
with SAP
And if the
Business
AI thing
Suite.
is that important,
With
then
this
it
in
starts
mind,
to trump
now
the
let's
best of
hear
breed.
from our
Because
first
if you
customer
have best
today
of
on
breed, it
how
might be a
they
little
are
bit more
driving their
difficult to bring
transformation.
all the data
Please join
together
me in
end to
welcoming
end.
from
So we
NBC
have,
Universal,
we think we
their
have
Senior Vice
a
President
great
of
suite. It
Operations
might
and
not be best of
Technology,
breed, but when you
Abhinav
layer
Sinha.
on the AI, it might trump best of breed. I think that's what
Yeah,
he's
I
trying to
think
get
you're
to.
right. I mean, he's basically, if you notice the thing on the board, it said suite as a
Abhinav, I
service,
know
which
our
kind of goes
audience is
right
eager
to
to
your
hear about
argument.
your story and how it fits into the flywheel.
And I think
And
maybe
as we
there's,
get into it,
I
please
think
also
there's some
tell our
truth to
audience,
that.
for those that
If
may not know
if it's
how
more important
many
to get
things
the
NBCU
breadth and
does,
depth of data
what NBCU
easily,
does, as
so you
well
can do
as
something with
I
your
know you
AI,
guys have a
as opposed
really
to
exciting go live
going
happening
and
this
picking
week
in
as
the
well.
best
So
of
please
breed of all
share
this that
that
might
with our audience.
be a little bit more difficult to bring together to get to that point.
Good morning to
Maybe
everyone
that
here in
is.
Orlando.
No, and
All the
you know what
folks
though,
talking virtually.
to your point, I mean,
Mohammed,
I
just
think
a
we've
serious
all
question.
thought
I
that
just
over
want
the
to take a
last
moment
20
and actually
years.
provide
You know,
some
it's just
context about our company.
that's just not reality.
Most
Though
of
the
you
way
know
people
us
do
as
it.
one
They're
of the
not going to
Right.
rip out
largest
certain
media
things.
networks
just
No, I
to,
mean,
in the
the
world
cost of ripping
that
out would be
delivers
worth cost you
culture-defining
more than the
entertainment for
using
massive
the
global
one you
audiences.
want to use.
What you might not
So
know
just learn to
is
live
that
with
we're
it.
made up of many
and that's why I
brand-new
think in these
companies,
keynotes,
and we view our company
it's
as three
as
distinct
important
businesses.
as anything else
So on the one
to
hand, we have
address.
our studio business
You know, we
that
know
works
that you're
with
not
some of
going
the
to,
most
rip
iconic
out
and
and
creative
go one
talent in the
vendor for
world,
everything.
and is
Here's
responsible
where
for a
we work with
100-plus-year-old
our,
rich
with the
content
companies
library.
that you use.
Then
You've
we have
told
our
us
media
this
business
is a
that is
customer
comprised
or
of our
companies that
two
you use for certain
broadcast
things.
networks, the NBC
Here's
network
how
as
we
well as
work together. Then you
Telemundo,
bring out these
our
guys
ad
and you talk
sales
about
group,
that a
our
little bit
news
more.
group,
Yeah, I
as
mean,
well as
who
smaller
are
media offerings
SAP's?
like our
It's
direct
interesting, you know, you see ServiceNow, they make a big point of the partnerships. You see Oracle, they make a point of their partnerships, different level of them, but you know, more on the cloud providers and things like that and the platforms. You look at you know,
as a matter of fact,
well,
and this is what
actually,
you were talking about, Muhammad.
Salesforce
Epic
is
Universe,
iffier.
our
Microsoft
most
has dozens of
technologically advanced and
partnerships. Adobe
ambitious
has
park ever
partnerships after
is going to go
partnerships.
live and have its grand
The
opening
only two that
this
really
week right
aren't
here in Orlando.
emphasizing, and even Salesforce
Across
does
the
have
street.
some, are
There you
these
go.
guys. Who do they have any partnerships with at all? I don't know.
Any
I'm sure they do, but I don't know who.
Now,
any of the
Mohammed, the
big
point I'm trying to
guys,
make
like
Yeah.
here is
I don't.
we are a
Well,
large
They don't really talk about it too
with
much.
distinct
well, that's it's
that's
problematic
had
to
a
me,
rich
but
history
Yeah.
of growth
No, I
over
think
the
that.
past
Yeah.
few decades.
Well, look at how
And
ServiceNow
with this type
showcases
of
these
reach,
partnerships
scale, and growth
and
comes
versus
organizational complexity.
this. But so far,
And I'm sure
we
many of
also
you
got to
in the
say we're only
audience will
like 20
resonate
minutes
with
into
what I'm
this.
about to say.
yeah.
Our enterprise systems and processes have inherited this organizational complexity. For example, we have two SAP ECC systems that are heavily customized. They have disparate data models and non-standard business process configuration. These SAP systems integrate with over 500 systems within the company. Just within the order to cash space, for example, we have over 40 revenue subledgers. And we have this architecture with business unit bespoke subledger ecosystem that has a non-native integration with our corporate SAP general ledger
Okay.
ecosystem.
So I looked it up.
You know, this creates
Microsoft on
natural growth for
Azure,
finance
around
overall.
Azure,
Managing this
Google
technology
Cloud,
landscape is extremely
AWS,
complex.
IBM,
And Muhammad, I know
which
you're
doesn't really
aware of
fit in
this.
the mold we're
It
talking
takes
about,
us
and
a really
Cisco.
long time to upgrade
Those
our
are kind of
SAP
the big
instance,
ones.
and they're quite expensive
Well,
to
and when you
maintain.
say,
Does this sound
I
familiar
guess,
to anybody?
Microsoft for
So
Azure,
how are you
Yeah.
addressing these
which is
challenges?
basically
And now
not.
let's talk about the
I'm
solutions.
guessing that's because some of their
Absolutely.
customers
So look,
want to
we
run
looked at
on the
our
Azure cloud because a
complexity
lot of the
within the
stuff is there,
company as
so
an
they're able to run
opportunity
it on Azure.
to
But what
Yeah.
simplify
about like
processes
the
and
AI
modernize
kind
the
of level
technology
partnerships
platform.
where we're
Let's
talking about
see.
The kind of
the
simplification and
agents,
modernization that
agent
we're
to
going
agent
for
kind of stuff?
is only achievable via greenfield transformation.
Okay, let me check.
What maybe is unique, Mohammed, is we have alignment at the executive level within the company to proceed with a finance-first approach to our business transformation effort.
Well, it
And
says
we've
they
also
have
aligned our
well,
corporate
the
leadership group
description, these
with the
are
leadership group within each
here's
of
what
our
they
divisions
say. Google
to build a
Cloud,
well-defined
which is just
finance
AI
roadmap.
powered
And
analytics, not
here's the
really an
most
AI
important thing,
partner.
with a
They use
one company
Google
mindset.
AI powered
So as
analytics.
such, our finance transformation is
Meta,
actually 4
which is
transformations
odd.
within one. So we've got our
Microsoft
corporate
again, natural
S4
language processing and
transformation,
AI
where we
automation.
intend to collapse our two
The way they're
SAP
describing it's
ECC
not really
environments
true AI
onto one
partnerships. They're more
S4
like they
platform
use
with a
AI
global process category.
capabilities. And they have
This
one
is
that says
accompanied by
NVIDIA
a
here. It says
business unit
supports
transformation
SAP
effort,
with
where
AI
we are
powered
bringing
simulations,
revenue
digital
processing
twins,
workflows
and
from
advanced
bespoke revenue
computing. I
subledgers
don't know what
over
that
to
means.
S4.
So let me see if I
Again, we
can
are
find
going for
something.
this native integration between the subledger ecosystem and the general ledger ecosystem. We also have an FP&A transformation,
Man, this guy
where we
looks
intend to use
so
SAP
youthful.
Analytics
He
Cloud
is.
to create a foundation for integrated planning within the company. And finally, all of this is wrapped tightly within the guardrails of our data governance transformation, where we intend to use SAP MDG to enforce data quality. So all in all, Mohammed, this one company mindset is really working for us. And I'm thrilled to be sharing a few wins with the audience here. So on the business unit modernization side, we are
He's a
fully
good
live with
customer
S4 Brim
representative.
for
Yeah.
all of Peacock's subscription revenue processing. We are fully live with S4 Brim to process the online ticket sales component of our Universal Horror Unleashed park that's going to have its grand opening in Vegas later this year. We are live with transitioning portions of our global distribution revenue subledger over to SAP. On the corporate S4 side, we have completed our code block design effort, and we are anticipating significant reduction in our data sprawl as a result of the standardization of the dimensions. And we're about a third of our way through our global design in the corporate S4 side, so we still have a long way to go. On the FP&A side, we are live with several revenue forecasting use cases, especially for our ad sales business, and several analytics capabilities for each of our divisions. Beyond finance, we are live with consolidating all of our domestic payroll onto our SAP HCM platform. We recently went live with bringing Universal Orlando onto our corporate HCM, SAP HCM platform. This enabled the business to hire and onboard over 12,000 team members. That was instrumental to our ability to launch the park this week. And we're also live with SAP Fieldglass for contingent labor management. So these are truly
They're definitely
impactful wins
using
for
a
us,
lot of this
Mohammed,
stuff.
and I'm really proud of the team's collective
Yeah.
accomplishments.
No, that's awesome. And I think the one company mindset,
Isn't NBC
is
Universal
sort of that end-to-end
Park in
context that's
Orlando?
so important to get the
I
flywheel
think so.
going. And by the way, man, I think we should give Avinav a round of applause for the huge wins.
There
because
you
those
go. That's
are
acknowledging a
transformative
human.
efforts.
Mom is doing a good job.
Yeah, he's been the
So
best so
Avinav,
far.
going through a
Yeah.
transformation like that is
By
just
far.
as much about the project and the people and the things that you're doing, but then a big mindset shift as well that we talked about backstage.
You know,
So
because it doesn't
let's tell our
sound, it doesn't
audience
feel like
about the
you're
mindset
watching a
shift that
script. You might be,
NBC
but it
went
doesn't
through to
feel like
enable
you're
this.
watching a
This is
script.
a
You
great
know, I'm
question.
thinking
And
scripted to
the
the
way I would
point,
want to address that, Mohammed,
but
is by
he's
providing some
free to
insight
roam in
about our
between.
unified
There's a
front
lot
end.
of that. I walked accidentally in
The
on
fundamental premise
something
of our
like that one
strategy is
time.
we want to
Well, at
consolidate
least like
disparate technology
his
platforms while supporting
interactions
similar processes
with this guy, it
onto a
doesn't. It
common
just feels
technology
a
platform with a
lot less
standardized set of
scripted than
processes.
some of the
Yeah.
stuff that we saw
It sounds
earlier.
easy,
Well, the other
right?
thing was completely
This
scripted.
is really hard to do
And they didn't
because
let
this is not
people
about the
like
technology, as
you.
were
You
saying.
didn't let us hear the
This
applause.
requires driving
No,
a
it's
significant
that.
mindset shift within the company.
Look, on the quality
The way
of
I like
the
to verbalize this
the
mindset shift is this
let's
concept
say
of moving
the
from a
quality
product
of the
mindset
video and
to
the
a product or
sound,
platform
meaning the
mindset.
actual use
One
of
of the ways
mics
we are
and
driving this
cameras,
mindset shift within NBC
that
Universal
part
is
is
actually the
really
way that
they're
we
doing a
structure
nice
our
job.
governance model.
Yep.
So the steering committee
But
of our
on
finance transformation effort
the
has representation across the entire breadth of
the
the company.
emotional part
So
of
we
a
have our four
conference
CFOs that
that
represent each of
that
the
should
four
be
divisions.
broadcast.
We have our
Where
chief
you look at
accounting officer
Salesforce, they're
and our
masters
corporate
at doing
FP&A
that.
leader.
They're
Our
just
global CIO, our
they
CTO, and
dropped
our
the ball
head of
so
AI
far
are
it went
steering
through the
committee
middle
as
of the
well.
earth.
I'll tell you what. The other
We
thing that
also have
is
representation
really
from EY,
I
who's
didn't
our primary
think it would
SI in
make
this
that much of a
effort, and
difference.
your team,
Is
Mohammed.
when I
I
think
actually want
back
to take this
to
opportunity to thank you,
NVIDIA
Thomas
GTC
Sarasek,
or
and Philip Herndon.
ServiceNow or
I
even
see Thomas sitting
Salesforce,
right there. You guys
and,
have
and
really
I think
brought
Adobe
your
too.
top product
The
and engineering teams
pre-show
that have collaborated with our
actually
teams
kind of
and
warms
who have
things up, gets you
collectively given
kind
the
of ready
company
for
significant
this.
problems
These
to
guys
solve.
came in so
Needless to say, you've
hot,
demonstrated the ability that you can rise
without even
to
a
the challenge.
hello
No
or
pun intended,
welcome, or it's
Mohammed.
great to have you.
Look, in
But
spite of the
that
incredible wins that I've shared
opening
with all of
pre-show
you
is
today,
actually
we still
a
have a long
significant
way
component
ahead of
to the
us.
virtual
The
experience.
one key
I
takeaway for
think,
the audience is this. It's really important,
like we've said many
to
times
bake in
before,
incremental
the
wins
outcome of a
across
conference
your
is not
long
the
transformation
specific
journey.
theme of that
This
conference,
is
it's how
really
you felt
helpful
about it.
to keep your
And
organization and people energized. Because
virtually, by the
that's
way,
the first
or
importance.
in person, more so in
And
person,
this
but still
unified
virtually.
architecture,
A year
to
from now,
me,
none of us will
is
remember
sort
a
of
damn
that
thing Mohammed said,
the analogy
right?
of this,
But
this commoditization of the
we'll know
apps,
how
right?
we
You have
felt.
the
Say, yeah, it was
platformization of the
okay,
app.
or
There's
no,
tools
that was
then
terrible, or
enable
wow, that
data
was amazing.
and the AI value on
We'll
top.
remember
This is
that
how
virtually or in
you and the
person.
team are
And
seeing what this enables you to go do on top.
they're just
Yeah, and we spoke about this
not doing
backstage
it
as well.
here.
I think this concept
They're
of
missing
flywheel effect
again.
really resonates with us.
I think what they're
So
presenting,
I
and I
talked
think some
about
of the
a
products
unified
they're showing,
architecture
even though I
vision.
don't think the demos really were that
Within
effective,
that
because all they did
strategy,
is show
we've
screens with
built an
data on it.
enterprise data
Even though
mesh
it's
that
nice,
enables
again,
us to
UI
harmonize our
got a
data
nice
sets
feel for
across
the
the
UI,
entire
and it's
breadth of the
very
company.
attractive. It's kind of,
This is
that's Bob
foundational
Stutz's
to
UI,
our
by the
ability
way.
to
Goes all the way
deploy
back to
generative AI
2007 when he
across all of
released
our businesses.
their CRM
Within the
product.
SAP space,
He
Mohammed,
it
we're
was
actually really
back then. It
excited
was
about
called
the
the
prospect of
Google-like
SAP
interface
Business
because it was
Data
kind of
Cloud.
clean and
We are
white,
hoping that it
as
helps us
Google was
merge
back then. It
SAP
was very
and
simple, clean
non-SAP
and white,
data
and
sets
they've
to
always
truly
carried that
unlock the
forward for the
power of
last.
AI. For any
Refining it
organization to
is
get the
much
most
nicer now than it
benefit
was
from
then, but
AI, you
for
must have a
18 years
platform
they've
strategy
refined it
that
now.
provides you the
But it's
end-to-end
been the same
connectivity and
kind of
visibility
idea,
across
which
your
is keep it
entire
clean,
process
keep it
chain.
simple, keep
Then
it
you need to
clear.
have a business
And
data fabric that will
that was nice,
hopefully
but
enable you
they
to
didn't really
harmonize the data
show
so
how
that
any of
AI
the
can
stuff
come
was
on top
derived in the
and actually
demo, and
work
that's
as
a
magic.
problem.
This is
Um,
our strategy within the
so
company
you
as
can
well.
only
This is why
presume
we
things
resonate with
work.
the flywheel effect
Uh,
strategy.
And
and there will be
secondly,
some significant
I mean, they're missing the
in
right
impact
brain,
those
is what this
generative
is.
AI
They're just
deployments
missing
will
right
end this
brain.
universal already.
They don't have one.
Awesome. Thank you for this sharing the story. Alvin, have any final
On the
takeaways
other
for
hand,
our audience
you
before you
know,
leave?
I'm
Sure.
guessing
Look, I hope this has been
the
helpful to all of
quality of
you, and
what
I
they
hope
have
you've
is
learned
very
something
good
about
because it
NBC
usually is
Universal,
well
motivation
engineered.
for our
Right.
That's
transformation,
one thing with
the
them.
incredible progress
Much
we
as
have
I
made thus
dislike
far,
the culture of the
and where we are
company,
headed in the
I don't
future.
dislike the
What
engineering
I
they
will
do,
say is these
right? And
transformations are
I have to give
incredibly
them props for that,
challenging,
and
but
that's why
also
they have a
rewarding.
large ERP
We truly
ecosystem.
appreciate our partnership with
Right
SAP,
now,
and
as
I leave
early as you
everyone with
said,
this.
but it's
With the
been
way
lip
the
service to
technology is
CX, and
evolving,
that's it.
I
Meaning,
really
you
think
saw the
that
word
we have
customer
done it
experience
right.
once, and they
With the
mentioned it
right foundation,
sales in
and
the end-to-end
most
part,
importantly,
and that's it.
with the right people, it
Yeah.
is truly within your reach. Thank you for listening, and I hope everyone has a great Sapphire.
Okay, now they're finally letting the crowd in. That was so weird.
Yeah.
Notice though, do you notice the way it just ended?
Yeah.
Meaning they turned the mic off. That for the
Crazy.
crowd.
I mean,
That's because it just not everybody can end exactly at the same second.
and it just sounds.
Oh, because
so-
it's him.
Demo what
It's
Tim
him.
did, and when I listen
He is doing that.
to Abhinav and MBCU, I have to tell you,
I wonder why he's
it
doing
makes
it.
I don't know,
my
but
heart
when
stop.
they
Because
abruptly cut off all
this
the
is the moment
applause, and he
when
came
all
back
of the
on
hard
stage.
work over the last 4 years of our
Something
over
with him that
40,000
maybe
engineers
he
paid
wants
off.
it that way. That is
Delivered
bizarre.
today a harmonized suite across the
Yeah,
entire
that doesn't.
technical stack.
Wow.
Well, it's the only
We are
presumption you
not
can make. I
stopping there.
mean, it just cut abruptly
Let's
all
take
at
a look
once, and then
at
he
how
shows up
we
again, and he was the
flywheel
bulk of the
impact
silence was
work
with
for
him
you. Starting
and the people he introduced right after, and then
Was he on
Mohammed.
stage
at
during the
your business
demo?
today. How much
No,
more
he wasn't.
productive
But only those
your
people were, and they were
teams
dead
become
silent.
due to
And then when
AI?
Muhammad came, they opened up their mics again.
10?
It's really interesting.
No.
It's
At
crazy.
SAP, our goal is to make
See, the
every
people in the
user
audience wouldn't know anything
30%
about
more
that.
productive.
No.
A compelling goal, but the
And
more
what
important question,
I don't
how do we
understand.
turn
This is not
goal
SAP
into
specific,
a
but
reality for
every
you?
user, their goal is every user becomes
Do you
30%.
remember
Where does 30%
days
come
of
from?
the SAP GUI?
It's like a number.
I
It would be
still
nice
Oh,
to kind of
Oh my God.
explain
End
how
users
that
have
comes
once I'd
about.
like to hear somebody explain how they got the number
transactional
or how they
ERP
made the point.
perform manual
Suboptimal.
tasks
Where'd that
and
come from?
analytics.
How can
I
you
did.
prove that?
The
I mean, they
next
just
big UX
make
milestone was
statements. They
mobile,
all do this.
enabling every end
Don't
user
get
the
it.
ability to work from
I have
anywhere.
this thing I've always told
And
everybody
now
I've ever mentored or
we are
whatever is,
entering
look, you
a
can say
new
anything you
era
want to say,
where
but
the
be prepared
software
to defend
is working
everything
for the
you
end
say.
user.
Right. And
And
I
there is no
don't
need
think they're prepared to
anymore to
defend
dig
everything
deep
they say because
into
they're making
the
some pretty
transactional
bold
system.
statements here.
End
Everybody
users
but them is
will
doing
use
suboptimal
Joomla
work, basically
to interact with Joule
30%
as our new UX.
productivity increase for
Joule
everybody.
will
What?
provide answers to any business questions they have. And in the back end, very smart AI agents will take over tasks from employees across end-to-end processes.
Oh, there you go,
And
agentic.
today, we are very proud that we are making Joule available to you everywhere and giving you answers on everything.
I presume for free.
Let's show you what this means.
Yeah, I
Starting
need to
with
see what
Joule
it means.
everywhere. Today, Joule is available in every SAP application, one click away. And now
Okay.
we are expanding it to any non-SAP application. So
Whoa.
you can access Joule from everywhere. Last year, we did a fantastic acquisition, WalkMe,
Oh
an
yeah.
adoption platform guiding
Yeah,
end
that's a
users
good
of
one.
SAP and non-SAP apps. Now, by combining Joule with WalkMe, we turn
That
Joule
is, see, now
into
you're
an
talking about a
omnipresent,
smart move.
always on, proactive,
WalkMe is a
and
great product, and it
personalized
sits
AI.
everywhere, puts it
No
wherever
matter
you want it
which
to
app
be.
end users working, SAP
I
or
remember when they were
non-SAP,
founded.
Joule will be
I
everywhere.
remember when they were in the idol
Now let's
contest.
show
Yeah.
you how Joule turns every end user
They're a
into
great
super
company.
user.
I would run
John
into them at
Fonseca,
various
over to you.
conferences and always hang out with them a little bit. I love those guys. Israeli. They were one of the best.
Thanks, Christian. Imagine having your own business AI assistant available in every application you use, be it SAP or on the web. For example, if you're responsible for your company's supply chain.
They said
Any
her
supply
name
issues that
SAP, no
typically
like
crop up
role or title or
here in your
whatever.
ticketing system, such as ServiceNow. Let me show you how this works.
The service now. Okay.
So here I am in ServiceNow on my browser.
That means
and you might
ServiceNow
have
is really
noticed the
gone up the
action bar
ranks,
in the
Yeah.
bottom
and they're getting
left corner
included
of
in
Well,
demos.
half of SAP is there now.
Well, that's true.
So this action
That is
bar
true.
offers help.
I mean, that's the
based on
thing.
what's happening in my
ServiceNow
company.
creamed the best of SAP's crop, man. It's like they're all went over there.
There's an urgent ticket request that just came up. Let's take a look. I get an instant summary on what's going on.
How does
and
this
that
go
gives me
against
a
best
view
of breed?
Some of the latest material batch.
Hmm.
Jumping into the ticket.
Well, I'm not going to ding them because I did say it
and
would
I
be good
see
to
that
show
I need
this
to take immediate
Yeah.
action.
some kind of a
Is
linkage
there
here.
some unusable material since
No,
the
I'm
last
glad.
The dual action bar gives me the view on the immediate supply chain impact. And as you can see right here, there's an increased risk for disruption since we have no backup supplier. And Joule suggests to find an alternative supplier, so I'm happy to take that offer. Think about what's happening right here.
That was
Joule
good.
is pulling information from
Yep.
multiple different sources and presents it to me
Finally.
together with a recommendation in a timely, relevant, and personalized fashion. Joule is using SAP Ariba to now help me identify the best possible supplier, and it recommends I source from a company called Enertech. Now, while Enertech is able to deliver in a timely manner, their prices are pretty high. I recall that I recently met Enertech, and they sent me a better price offer via email. I should search my inbox. And thanks to Joule now being omnipresent, I can
So they actually
access
walked me
ticket
for its
and
ubiquity.
ask it for help.
That's what it
Its
sounds
ability,
like.
well, its ability to be
Based on
ubiquitous.
walkthroughs,
Yeah, well, that was
Joule
always
is
its
now
huge
able to
strength.
pass this
Remember,
request
any
to
point
Gemini,
in a
which takes me
learning,
over
like a
to my
tutorial
Gmail
process,
inbox.
didn't matter what it was,
Data
where it was, you could
happening.
bring up
There you
something
go.
because
It
of WalkMe.
searches the inbox and it identifies
It's actually
the
a
right
really
email.
smart
And here
use
you
of
can
your
see that's
of
the point.
WalkMe's
So
capabilities.
in the
Not one I
next
would have
step,
guessed
let's
that,
get
but
a
I'm glad
request
they
for
did it that
proposal
way.
or short RFP created. And again, Joule helps me with that.
So this is kind of like how
And Joule agents now take over
kind of like how
exactly
Zoho
pulling
has developed
information from the
Zia
email,
in the
from the
more than what it
S/4HANA
was
system,
originally.
and it's
I
coming
still
up
wish
right
they changed
here.
the name.
All I need to
That
do
ain't gonna happen.
is quickly
I know.
review that all looks good and confirm. So now that this is being sent off to the supplier, I can go on with my day. And while we're waiting,
This
for
is
the
very
supplier
well
to
done.
respond, let's quickly switch over to LinkedIn, where I can post about how this demo is going well. At least for now, keep your fingers crossed. So let's post that.
Is this real?
Looks great.
No,
There you go.
That would be funny because he is wearing the
And
same thing.
wow, that's a fast supplier. It already got back
Well,
to
actually,
me, and
maybe
I
it
get
is.
a proactive notification about this.
But
even
there's no
though I
way
was on
somebody
LinkedIn.
took a picture of her while she's
Completely
doing a
different
demo, or
application.
no, this is
So let's
a
dig into
canned
it.
setup. I'm
And
just
the
trying to
next
see if I
step
can find it.
is to issue a
oh,
purchase
what's her name?
order.
Sarah something?
Sarah Buckley?
Something like that.
Again, Joule helps me with that. And everything that's happening now is
Bucher?
happening behind the scenes. I don't need to do anything. Joule takes me over to the S/4HANA
No, that's
system.
not her.
And thanks to WalkMe's automation capabilities, this is being filled out dynamically. So as you can see, information is coming in from the RFP, from the S/4HANA system. It truly works like magic. And I can quickly review that. Looks good. Let's order. And our purchase order has been created. Now there's one final step we got to take. And again, the Joule action bar notifies me about that. Let's take a look. And for sure, good idea. It's time to update the ticket we started with in the beginning. So in just one click, Joule navigates me over to ServiceNow. It helps me craft a response to the ticket so we can get back to the warehouse manager. And it fills in that post. And that looks good. So let's post. And that's a wrap. So you've seen how Joule is now available everywhere, across all applications, a truly omnipresent
Not
business
finding
AI
it.
assistant. Back to you, Christian.
That was a good demo. That was the best
Yeah.
so far.
Well, it's practical.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that really does something.
Yeah, thank
And
you,
she did
Sarah,
it. It didn't feel
for
like it was
showing us
completely
how
scripted,
Joule
although it was.
will
But
become
yeah.
the best
like the
way
other folks were
of
just
every
walking
end
up and
user
talking.
everywhere they
Yep.
go.
And using their
But
hands appropriately.
we are at Sapphire, so we are not stopping there. In addition to making Joule available everywhere, we now enable Joule to answer everything.
Oh, really?
Today, Joule already helps you to answer a wide range of questions by connecting SAP data, structured as well as unstructured content within your own company. But now, we are excited to take this to the next level. Together with Perplexity, a company that is pioneering a new way to find answers with AI.
Yeah, that happens to be one of my favorite of the Gen AIs for my use anyway.
On everything.
And thanks to LinkedIn, I've had use of this for almost a year for free.
Yeah, that's what exactly. I got it from Zoom for free for a year.
Imagine you're reading the latest news online about tariffs, and you want to.
I actually would pay for it though if I had to.
Yeah,
I really do like it.
Joule will be able to think through your question, find your business data.
So I wonder if it's so there's some kind of Perplexity back-end integration here with Joule. That's smart. That's really a good deal.
The answer you need.
You know, many years ago when I first met them, when they were still BPM Online, Creatio had this search function built into their suite, the back end of their suite, where you could search anything inside the business applications used, but you could also search for anything outside it. So it was kind of a precursor to what they're describing here. It was amazing. I never saw anything like it.
So this is the CEO and co-founder of
Arvind.
Really cool.
Oh, now we're talking.
And they're all loving it. But tell us more about Perplexity.
So we say Perplexity is an answer engine because that's what it does. Instead of 10 blue links, it gives you an answer that you can really trust. And so we cite our sources that helps you to find more information than just the answer. Since then, it's evolved into an assistive experience. So Perplexity has access to not just the web, but a whole bunch of tools. And we're soon launching a browser where you can have an assistant doing tasks for you.
Browser. So they're going right at Google.
Yeah.
This is fantastic. And look, Aravind, this morning we also talked about, solving problems, and we talked about uncertainty. Take us into the future about what is your view on how will AI, help companies to overcome
a Perplexity-driven browser.
AI make companies more resilient.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
So
little side thing that's really interesting. But this is a good move by SAP.
Previously we solved
Yep.
problems with the information and knowledge that we
For more reasons than
Microsoft is interconnected with OpenAI, and Google, of course, has their own with Gemini, and
also Microsoft has Copilot links with integrations with every other AI imaginable at business AI imaginable.
So I'm surprised we haven't seen more of this for Perplexity. Maybe this is the first big entree into the enterprise partnership stuff.
Yep. And I will tell you, if I'm talking it as a user of just a consumer level of all the AIs, and I use a lot, the worst is Copilot by a long shot. By a long shot. It's just pretty horrible.
This resonates with many people here, and it definitely resonates with me. And I'm listening
to
you.
They need major fixes to make that thing worthy.
By joining forces, by building now this great partnership, and we are working on this for some time now.
It's great.
What can our customers expect from this partnership?
Seeing SAP is getting smart.
So our shared customers can expect better decision making from more intelligently connected data.
So you got Perplexity's AI with SAP's data. That's a really good partnership.
And it seems like Perplexity will handle the external functions that Joule can't.
Right. Which is because Joule is good, like you said, with what it does. But Perplexity is a broader range of access to information.
Yeah.
They need to be able to trust them. And so they need to be able to double check.
It's amazing that I'm thinking, as I mentioned earlier, that what I said about BPM Online / Creatio and what they had, you got to realize they had that. When did we do CRM Model? 2011. So they had that 2012.
the two of
Right.
us are very
That, and it was
generally
basically the
focused on
precursor to exactly what we're
SAP,
talking about
how
with
end
this.
users will find answers
Mm.
on
You go in
everything.
there and you can find
Really
anything you
appreciate
wanted to find
being
via, there's a
Rolando
search bar,
to,
right? But you can
share
find
our
anything you
knowledge
wanted
about our
internally,
partnership
like
and how we are
code,
now working
anything.
finally together.
Um,
Thank you, Christian.
and then you can find anything you wanted externally. It was amazing. I've never seen.
Welcome to the stage, Philip Herzig.
Okay, and who might he be?
I know.
They don't identify the titles at all.
They don't. All right, there it is.
There it is.
Chief Technology Officer. Okay.
Look, it's been an exciting journey with business AI so far. Remember last year?
Oh, he's a member of the
committed
SAP
to
Extended
80%,
Board, whatever that
80%
is.
of the most
I have no idea.
used things that customers and SAP users do every day within Joule. And we delivered so much. That translates into now 1,600 skills supporting a wide range of tasks across HR, finance, supply chain, and more out of the box. With that,
You notice the
just
one
reimagined
thing he didn't
the
specifically
work
name?
and done it into it
He
faster
said
than anywhere, but we also do it in a
between
totally new and beautiful way.
HR, finance, supply chain, and
The
more.
whole product lineup expands
So
not-
CX is and more.
Yeah, that's right. They're calling their CX product and more.
every day to achieve more.
Unbelievable. They are
Last year,
pathetic
we
on that,
also
man.
promised 100 generative AI
Yeah,
scenarios
CX just is
embedded
not a
deeply
priority.
into
No,
our
then stop pretending it is at any point that the customer experience matters, because it doesn't.
available today
Not
in
there.
all
I
our
haven't heard
products.
the
And we are fully
letter
on track to
CX
deliver more
mentioned
than
yet. Have you?
400
No,
AI
they haven't said
scenarios
CX. They
this
did
year.
have one
And for
screen
sure, we are
which had
thrilled
HR,
to
you know,
now
the and more part was actually said customer experience.
Yeah.
And it was first.
every day to transform the way
And then they
work.
mentioned, if you
For
remember in
example,
the robot
now saving
demo
85%
that they
their
did with
time
all the different
finding the right
people,
skilled talent
they mentioned
and
sales.
employees to complete
Yeah,
HR
mentioned.
tasks
Yeah,
40%
that's it.
faster.
They've mentioned sales and shown the word customer
PwC, who
experience,
designed a
or
tax
the
determination
phrase customer
solution for Novo
experience
Nordisk,
once,
giving
and that's
Novo
been
Nordisk
all
3
they've said
years
about it.
back every year
I
of
And
wonder
now
how
it's
that makes
relegated to and more.
costly tax
I always
returns.
wonder what the
Or
folks
Bosch,
who
using
are
Joule for
working on
development,
this in the
with an
company,
increased
how do they feel
efficiency
I
when
don't
they?
know. Well, I had heard somewhere
developer
recently, and I don't remember who told me this, but
But now, let's hear
somebody
the details
was somebody
from
who
one of our
had good
customers
knowledge
in a
that
heavily
they were
regulated
actually
industry in financial
talking
services
internally that they're going to
on how they're
invest in
actually using
CX
AI
and blah blah
and
blah
the
blah.
right methodology
And I remember
to
telling
really
them, yeah,
transform their
until they
business.
don't.
Please give it up for
That's
Melinda
kind of how they
Innovator
work.
I've heard that
from
before.
Standard
Yeah,
Chartered.
2015 on, they pivoted on it like 7 times. No, not 7. 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Standard and Chartered. Standard Chartered.
All right. So, Tom, Melinda, it's been an exciting partnership, a great journey. You're, for me, the blueprint.
At least the customer conversations are pretty decent.
Well, this guy and Muhammad Alam, they were really good because they don't feel kind of stiff and robotic when they're talking.
Right.
Years ago with a bit of a mess. We had over 30 finance and treasury systems, and taking 3
Jeez.
weeks to close the books meant we were not relevant to the
Including
business imperative
QuickBooks and
that
Quicken
the-
Home and Business.
So we launched our finance transformation program, something that we call Aspire. And with that, we picked SAP as our partner, not just to provide applications, but to really take on the risk of transformation, managing the infrastructure, having the performance right, and making sure that we had that core in place. So now, when you fast forward to where we are today, it's a remarkable place. We are now processing over, or we're ramping up to $2 trillion of individual customer accounts flowing through our eyes.
We've been at it. It feels like we've been in this, watching this for
with the S4.
3
longer than we
hours.
had.
I know.
And it's not like a
really
knock. It
exciting
just feels
is we're
like
moving to a
when you
clean
get started
core
so
that
early,
allowed us
it feels.
to now take advantage in
How long is it supposed to be?
BTP
I'm
and
hoping no
unlock
more
the
than
value.
like 90 minutes.
And we're seeing just in 6
Let's
weeks.
see, we're
SAP
almost at
embedded
an
AI
hour.
core
Yeah.
capabilities, stuff that our users
Well, it's
can't do.
conceivable. It'll be interesting if they make it an hour. Then the one area they would not have covered would be CX.
Wow.
I'll turn it over from
Unless they somehow manage to squeeze it in the last, few minutes after this.
Remember, like, I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember during one of these sapphires when they were talking about like things like
Yeah,
stability.
sure.
I mean,
At
sustainability,
Standard Chartered, we believe
stability,
that delivering value
sustainability,
to our
and
clients and communities
like a little
starts
bit
with talent.
more of their overarching, view of things. They
Oh,
went right back to like nuts and bolts.
this is straight product demo.
Yeah.
I mean, this is straight product all the way through, which again, while valuable at a point, is not the way a keynote should be run.
Yeah, but going back, like, I hate to, I just remember, Jensen, he didn't start. I mean, he had that big picture view, that kind of visionary, and I like the visionary stuff. I like learning more about things, and then going into like, how do we get there and all that kind of stuff.
Well, look, I mean, the one thing is there are companies, and I can speak to a few that are not really visionary companies, SAP among them. But for example, when one of the companies that they acquired, Calidus Cloud, did they were not visionary in the slightest. Leslie Stretch, who was the CEO at the time, was a mission-driven guy, and his acquisitions, for example, were all for a purpose, meaning I need this piece to do this. I need this piece to do this. Not visionary, not long-term. They would basically fill in the piece I need. Let's get the company I need to buy because can't build this. And when I heard Leslie one year try to give a visionary speech, it was when the Internet of Things was big, and he started talking, and I heard Leslie before. He's a good speaker, but always mission driven, and the company was successful as a mission driven company. Well, he gets on the stage and he starts talking about the Internet of Things, and I'm thinking, whoa, well, okay, where's this going? And then, because they were built kind of like exactly initially on compensation and things like that. And then he starts talking about the Internet of e-learning and the Internet of compensation and the Internet, like it was ridiculous, it was horrible, right? And I literally, after it was over, I walked up to him and literally said, Leslie, you trust me? And he goes, yeah. And I go, look, while I'm advising you guys, you got to promise me one thing. He said, what's that? He said, you'll never say the Internet of anything ever again. Right. And he said, well, I thought I had to do that. I said, no, you don't. You're an incredibly successful, mission-driven company. You don't need to be visionary because you're supposed to be. You're not. So don't do it. Focus on what you're good at, and you're great at the other one. And that's kind of what they are. They may not be visionary, but even as a mission-driven company, this is not the speech you give.
I mean, going back to your point about we won't remember a thing anybody says, but you'll remember what you felt.
We think the analysts are going to ask our CEO and CFO.
I mean, I'm just saying. I keep on going back to this one guy because
and then also using a lot of our
he was charismatic. He had people, and he was just a one-man show talking for 2 hours, but he had people's attention for that whole time. It wasn't because he was talking specifically about bits and bytes, but he gave you the big picture, and then he started talking about how we get there. I just kind of like that approach.
Yeah, no, I'm with you again. And well, Jensen, to his credit, is a what would you call it, like a brilliant visionary. I mean, he really is, and
he's charismatic,
incredibly. You're not kidding, like super personable human being, even though his jokes aren't very good.
No, that ServiceNow thing needs to go.
Yeah, no. Anytime he cracks a joke, it's pretty bad, right? So, but he's amazing. I don't think like Christian is built that way, particularly. Look, for example, even though years ago, though, they once gave this bizarre product demo years ago during COVID, where he was demonstrating SAP's end-to-end capabilities, buying a car with his phone, kind of Tony Prophet-ish, but on the one hand, he did a great job of that, and it was really did demonstrate the capabilities. On the other hand, the car he was buying was a Porsche, and we were right in the middle of COVID and layoffs, right? And it was like tone deaf, at the same time, brilliant expression of end-to-end. Again, what SAP fails to do is the human element. They don't get it. They do not get it for whatever. It's not, and people say it's because they're German. That's not true. Germans
Now,
get
while
it, for
Joule
God's sake. It
transforms
has
the
nothing to do with
experience layer,
German
Joule
culture.
8
It has to do with
transforming the business
the
process layer.
it has to do with this
Remember, for those
company's
past
culture,
2
which is
decades,
100%
enterprise software was really
driven
designed
by,
around
you know,
one key principle:
driven by
Now, full
revenue,
cycle
I
action
guess is
allows
the
you
only
to,
way to put it.
you know,
100%.
navigate a bunch
You
of
know,
applications,
sustainability. I remember their
run
initial
data sources to
sustainability
arrive at a conclusion and then make
argument many
decisions.
years ago was
Now,
how
Joule
you'd make money off of
vastly
it.
simplified
Right.
the
Later
enterprise
on, that one year you're
natural
talking
language
about, when they
interaction
actually did some
and
very
the
good
process
things,
integration that's required.
they were
We can
talking
ask
about
the system anything
sustainability
you
to
want.
improve the footprint,
But
you know,
still, if
carbon
you look
footprint
at
on the
this,
earth.
the
Right.
user
And
always
it was a
needs
great
to think, how
argument
to
and a great
expect
discussion, but it was an
so it's
aberration,
think
apparently.
and wait.
Yeah.
It's think and
That
wait.
was that's what I mean.
But
We
why
both
would we
remember
waste a
that
trillion
because
humans' mind doing
it was
this?
it had
The
a
next logical step
I don't know
is
if
let
it's the
AI
right
do
thing to say it
this
had an
through
emotional
reasoning
component or
and
something, but
collaboration.
it had something
With
that
this,
was
we are actually
human.
making a
Well, it
paradigm
has
shift
something
in
that said we're
enterprise
not a
software,
soulless
really going
company.
from
Yeah.
reason
Right.
and
And this,
quest to
unfortunately, this
reason
stuff
and act
says we
with
are, even
AI.
though not entirely. I don't
For
want to
example,
look, as
Right.
much as
our
I get
whole new
angry at
financial
them,
risk and
I
planning
don't
agent,
actually, I mean,
the
I'd
risk
probably play it
agents
up a little
reason
more
over
than it's
external
true.
market
You know,
data,
the
like, for
reality is
example, from
there's a
Perplexity,
lot of
in
wonderful people who
combination with
work
all these
there,
internal
and they are
analytical data
you want
to
to talk about
identify
human, they're the
key
best
risks
humans you could
and
ever
propose
meet.
certain mitigation
But the
strategies
company
such
itself
as
just misses, you know what, if you
biodiversification
think about it, what's
strategy.
been the
May
history
then
that we've
add
always said
and
about this
simulate
company?
the impact
It's a
on your
brilliant company
P&L.
that steps on
And
its
then
own
our
feet,
planning agent
right?
would
It
go
just
ahead,
doesn't know how to
take
communicate
over,
with the world,
and
and it's still
implement
the
the
case.
right tactics, for
Right. They
example, in
don't
the
they don't
supply
get their
chain.
CMOs
We're
over the
deploying
years,
a
other
system
than
of all
Jonathan
new
Becker.
approvals agents.
And Alicia
We have
Tillman
completed about
somewhat. She was
90% of
pretty
the
good at
manual work
times. I have
today
to say
assisting
she's great
approvals
at
for
Delta,
financial
but
close.
she was pretty good at
The
SAP on
approval
occasion.
agent first
But
started with learning
Jonathan
and
Becker was a
thinking and
brilliant
questioning.
CMO, and
For
after
many
that, they've never
companies,
had
it's
even one
hundreds
who
of
was
pages long,
capable
and
of
it takes
being a
you breeze
CMO,
over
except
that in
Alicia.
combination with
Right.
the analytical data to
Way over
then
there, and they don't know how to
propose the right
communicate.
I think
approvals during
maybe that
financial
stems
close.
from
We
their
propose data
roots
from
of
multiple
being in
sources like
ERP, which
historical
Yeah.
sales and product
you didn't
data
need to
against
have
a
a
warranty claim,
I
for
don't want to say like
example.
you
And
didn't
then
need to have a
based on this, it
soul
corrects all
or a
the
No.
errors
personality when
locationally,
you're
so
selling
you
that
can
stuff.
move on
But
and
when you
pose the
start
driver
going
to
into
the
the
general
CX
ledger.
space, that stuff is really
This saves
important.
Man.
accountants
And I don't think
hundreds of
they've
hours during financial close, and
showcased
you can close
that
the books
in the
faster
way
and more
they could.
compliant.
To your
New
point
agents
earlier,
will
I don't think
therefore
they
take
care
business
about
processes
CX.
to
I don't even think they care
significantly
about
better.
any of this, really, as far as the
And today,
human
we're really excited that
human
we'll have
side. They
many new
just
agents
care
here at
about
Sapphire ready out of
telling
the
you how
box.
you're going to make
The all
money,
new
which is
Shopper
fine.
supervisor
But
agent,
business
an
is
expense report
a
validation
type
agent,
of
as well as
human
a performance
institution.
and
That's
goal
all it
management
is, right?
agent for
There's all
HR.
this there's a million
Now,
other kinds of
soon,
human
you're going to
institutions,
have
but the
a
key is
huge
it's a
team of
human
agents
institution.
that are in your workforce that are Joule
And
agents
a
for
way of
specific
approaching
applications
things.
of
So
SAP,
you need to.
custom
The
agents like the ones
best
Philip just
companies are the
talked
ones who
about,
get all of that.
or
The
some third-party
Zohos,
agents
the
from other vendors too.
Salesforces, it's
So we use
ServiceNow.
this
I
tool
mean,
to
ServiceNow.
control and
Once
govern
they
all these agents along
clicked
your
on
business processes and your enterprise
that
application
CX matters
landscape.
they always had great
We're really
people,
excited to
right? That
introduce
was never an issue.
AI
But then they
Agent
clicked
Hub
on CX,
in
and then
SAP
all of a
Lean
sudden
IX.
they were not only all in,
SAP
they
Lean
changed
IX
the culture of the
today
company,
already
and the
knows your business
company's
processes,
culture now is
knows your
terrific.
enterprise
well, think
application
about this though.
landscape. So it's just a
We
very
kind of
logical step to
we have a lot
expand
of praise for
methodology
ServiceNow
to
because of
AI
the way
agents
that
as
they've
well.
done things
As
and
you
they
can see
continue
here in the
to
demo, the
move
AI
in that
Agent
direction.
Hub
Now they
lets you add every
calling
available
themselves a
AI
CRM company.
agent to the
All those
respective
folks really
business
came from
capability
here.
or
So
process
Yeah.
why
layer
didn't it
it
work
supports, and by
in
default also
SAP, but it
enriches
works
with its
fine in
AI agent's
ServiceNow?
context.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
From quotation
you had
scans
guys like
to new
Bob
agents
Stutz who
to
made
growth
great
steps,
strides
and
at
then of
SAP.
course
He
you can
really
check
did, especially
governance.
his
So for
first
example, you
stint
can
here. He
ensure
was
that these
amazing.
agents
He
fulfill their
changed the
ethical
nature of the
and
company.
compliance
But
standards
SAP as as a culture just couldn't handle it, you know. And honestly, look, the reason I've been as angry as I've been with these guys has been the way they treated me, to be honest. They, I'm not going to lie about that. I don't want to say, oh, it's because I'm not trying to make this an abstract intellectual thing. It isn't. I'm a human being, and they treated me like dirt, and for no reason other than the people who did it were not nice people, really. But you know what? It was never dealt with, right, by the people at SAP. They just let it ride, and they thought it was okay, and it's not. I mean, I look, it didn't crush me, but at the same time, it turned what is an active support of SAP, even in the stupider moments, into a dislike of the company's culture. Again, acknowledging though here that the technology that they build is always really, really, really well done. Not always. That's not fair. I don't know that. I say what I've seen of it is
together with
over the
Mistral,
years has always been pretty well engineered stuff. Occasionally, look, what was that one? The mid-market product business
On
first,
demand or something.
business on demand. That was terrible. That was an awful product. But that was probably the worst product they've ever produced. But when you get to the bigger products, the supply, I love their supply chain stuff. I still do.
These models are all
So
establishing AI.
I'm trying to be fair, and I will be fair to
Well,
them. But
I think it's a fair statement to
when
say
you have carefully designed your
people
process.
that were
But there's a
that
big
were
challenge.
at
Once you've
SAP
committed to a
and the
certain model
CX
and you ship
area,
it into production, you're essentially
a lot of those folks
because
are at
changing the
ServiceNow.
underlying model
Yep.
is super
Yet
hard.
ServiceNow has been very
Some model
successful in what
updates
they're
can
doing
break the
around, well,
carefully
they
tuned
used to call it
application
customer reference,
logic in
now
your
it's CRM.
process.
But
That's why
those
if you wanna
same
switch the
folks
model, like
weren't
cloud
able to
first,
do
it's
what they've
very
done at
simple.
ServiceNow
Battle
that
model
they're
available
that
6
they
months
were
from
doing
now.
at SAP.
But maybe
Why
there's
is
also a
that?
new
Is
model
that it
coming
has
that
to be
provides the
something
same
like
quality,
cultural?
but 10
oh
times
yeah, it's
faster.
entirely cultural. I mean,
Because
Once
those
you
folks
commit
didn't
to
get
a
any
certain model,
smarter.
now I wanna
I
expand
mean,
it
No.
to
they
another
already
country,
were
and that
smart, they
model is
were
not
already were
available in that
experienced, they
country
already
and
were
falls under
intelligent,
certain
but
regulations.
yet and
There are
still,
hundreds of reasons why I wanna choose
CX
these AI
at
models.
ServiceNow is,
Therefore,
light years
we
ahead of
had
what
to
it is
invent
at
a
SAP.
technology
Oh
that
yeah.
allows
Well,
us to get
SAP is
rid
an
of prompt
afterthought
engineering
at
Well, that's
best.
the
and
thing.
reintroduce for this
That,
a
and I
new
think
button
that
to AI
until that
foundation. This works
mindset
like
changes,
magic.
it'll always be
Because if
kind
you
of
click that
positioned
button,
as an
it takes
afterthought.
all your
Look, when
existing prompts
ServiceNow was
and automatically converts them
ITSM
with the help of
back
AI
then,
to
they were
optimize
very
prompts
technology,
for all other
technical
models.
company. They were
Yeah.
driven by that, and the
Therefore, we're
culture
very
reflected
thrilled
that
to
to some
announce
degree.
the
Although,
Optimizer and
interestingly
AI
enough,
Foundation,
it did
a
have
joint
some really good
collaboration
human
with
elements even
Optimizer,
back then.
a frontier AI lab
But
here out of San Francisco. And with this
they
new
tied the
technology,
ops
we really
side once they
believe
did
that
customer
prompt
service
engineering
ops
is a
stuff.
thing of the
They
past.
tied the ops side during the
Instead, we're
Disney
introducing a new
Disney
category
Plus
we
launch.
call
They tied the ops side
prompt
to a
engineering.
CX
Because it is
having a
all
CX
about
impact. And when I say
describing the
tied, I
outcome
mean
of
like
your AI
tight
use
as
cases
you can tie
instead of
anything. They
explicitly
tied it
calling
together,
AI
and
models.
it blew the company into a whole new
Prompt
dimension.
Optimizer
I'll
is
put it to you
available
this way.
today in private preview.
They once had
Now,
me do some
let's take a
stuff,
small glimpse into
on
the
the thought
future
leadership
on how we
side.
take this even further.
Probably
Because right
3
now,
years into
tool
my
agents are really bound to a
relationship
digital
with them, maybe 4 years.
And
And you know what it was
today,
about?
we're also bringing
And now
them
think of this:
to
a
the
company is talking about
physical world.
service ops. It was about empathy. I did a serious amount of stuff on empathy. Yeah, basically.
Yep, Bob.
Good
But you know
point.
what? I guess that's true. But when you hire people like they hired that were supposed to, be able to help them in this space, and then
Now,
it doesn't
physical
appear
AI and
like
humanoid
you
robots are
let
starting
them
to
do what
disrupt
they
everything,
would
from
have liked to have done to
manufacturing
get you where
maintenance,
I
warehouse
guess they thought
processes,
you wanted to go.
etc. Now,
That's
while
got to be
robots can
frustrating.
move
And then you
phenomenally
see
today,
those same people
they
go to
don't
this other
understand
company
business yet.
and have
Because
pulled it
tool
off
agents will actually
and are
empower
really,
robots to
pushing
achieve
forward.
business outcomes. Let's take a look on how
It
that
says
looks
something,
like.
and it
We
says,
really have this
like
new
you were saying,
partnership,
it says that
groundbreaking with
yes,
Mira
CX
Robotics
will
and
will
NVIDIA.
provide a
So
certain
let's see it
amount
in
of
action.
interest
So what
into
you
it, but
basically can see
at
here
the
that
heart,
the humanoid has
it's
been
all
trained
about
in
what
NVIDIA's
our
Omniverse
our
technology
bread and
based
butter,
on an injection
and
molding
it's
machine
not
from
that. And
Anki.
unfortunately,
And we actually
if they
deployed
had
a
let those
visual
same folks, like
inspection
you said
model
with
from
Bob,
SAP Asset
if
Performance
if you
Management
just let
right
them
into
do
its
what
brain.
they do,
Now let's blend
you
over to
could
the
have
show floor
been
here
in the
Sapphire,
position
where
that
the humanoid
ServiceNow is
uses
in when it
SAP
comes to this
visual
space.
inspection to determine if maintenance is required. So let's switch to the robot's camera here, and we see that actually one part's the
This is a
nozzle
robot
requires
using
replacement.
Joule.
Now the humanoid uses Joule
The
to
humanoid.
interact with a maintenance agent
Must
in
be
the
an
back office
employee.
and also submits the photo and dispatches that to another robot in the warehouse that picks up the new nozzle and brings it right here to the show floor. So while the robot is now doing the maintenance, and hopefully we can open the show floor with that replaced nozzle, that gives you an idea on how we will transform and blend the digital world with the physical world through AI and Joule agents.
That's
You
cool,
see,
but
with SAP, the future of business AI is already here. It's an essential part of the overall flywheel, together with data in our suite of applications, helping you to manage times of uncertainty. With that, back to you, Christian.
I see a little NVIDIA logo in that.
yeah, they did. But they said that was Nura, SAP, and NVIDIA.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Philip. We've talked about AI.
So NVIDIA is
Now let's
obviously
move on to the
applying,
next element of
providing the
flywheel,
processing
data.
power
Yeah,
there.
But let's
Back in
let's
February, we
face it.
launched
Last
a
week or
very,
2 weeks
very
ago,
exciting new solution.
Jensen was on
Our data
stage with
platform.
Bill,
Yeah.
Business data
and they
platform.
were
Oh,
having
listen.
a great
And your
conversation.
feedback
NVIDIA,
Nothing
look,
else
think of it
there.
this way. NVIDIA provides my gaming machines
PDC,
processing power,
crystal ball.
GPU
We
power,
need
graphics
time to
processing
concept.
power. So it's about the same level
PDC
of
offers you
alliance.
the
Well,
Yeah.
my
potential
strategic
data
partner,
layer
NVIDIA.
instantly.
Jensen, show up in my
And
house and play
product
Diablo
compounding,
4 with me.
SAP
You know, but some of the
depends
most
on SAP
memorable
data.
parts of these
So let's
opening
look
keynotes
how
are
we
when they
can
bring on
expand what
their
PDC
frenemy
can do for you
or you know
with some
competitor
groundbreaking,
slash collaborator.
groundbreaking
You remember
product
when
and
Oracle
partnership announcements.
brought on the head of
Microsoft said to
AWS?
launch
Yeah.
an incredible
That was really
8,000
it was a great
for
moment. It was a
every
really
line of
interesting
business.
and then they started
Let's
asking
start
each other
with an
questions.
exciting
Yeah.
partnership.
Oh, well, again, Oracle is on a different.
The maker of
These
powerful
guys were on the
data
same path
intelligence
they were on 30 years ago.
and with
Oracle's
SAP
on a
Business Data
completely
Cloud,
different track now.
our shared customers
They're still
now
competitive,
benefit
obviously, but
from real-time
only
data
around ERP.
integration
Oracle is
and joint
light
AI
years
use
ahead of them
Oh
as a
yeah.
company.
Let's
Light years.
hold the VTV.
That's you know why.
Founder and
With
CEO
all the
of Palantir,
frustration we might have with Larry Ellison at times, the reality is he is a true visionary and always has
Delighted to
been.
be here.
Right? Network computing on.
Here,
You know,
we
he's
are
always been the guy.
maniacally focused on
I'll tell you the other
value
thing too
creation
is
This guy's
for
wearing
our
an
partner,
undershirt.
our client,
he's
people we work with,
recorded.
and our partners.
No, he's wearing an
We
undershirt.
use ontology to manage
Oh,
large language
okay.
models,
Literally,
boundary,
put on a
and
shirt,
cloud
man.
data.
I'm
And the
trying to move past
combination of
that.
those products and your products,
So
we believe,
what I was
will
going to
be
say is
extremely valuable
Larry
for our collective
and
clients
Oracle,
and partners.
there is
And we're
it's so
very much looking
interesting.
forward
You
to
know,
scaling
we've
this
been dealing
partnership
with the
and
same people
delighted
for
we've
like
gotten that off the
decades
ground.
there.
Yeah.
Like Steve Miranda. I have no idea what he does outside of Oracle, but I know where he's going to be because he's always at the same things every year.
Harnessing
And
the
he's got a team
full
of folks that have been there
potential
for
of
like
data is really the name of the game.
Oh yeah.
10 to
Every
15 years.
organization today
You know
is on
these
a
people.
journey
You know
to
what? I don't
transform
know
how they
anybody
operate,
specifically
turning
that I've
insights
really dealt
into
with
action,
on a
a
personal level
prerequisite
at
for
SAP.
reason
They're all
and
been
act
gone
that
for
Philip
like the
talked
last
about.
couple
No,
of years.
actually, you got to
With
be
SAP
fair. We
Business
have
Data
two.
Cloud, or BDC, we
Ratu
hope
is
to
still
make that
there.
fully
I
possible.
think Ray's is still
We're
there.
really humbled by the
Unfortunately,
reception
I
and
don't.
the
I
early
haven't
success
talked to
we're
the
seeing
like. There were people
from
there
our
that I
launch in
literally
February.
talked to
Not
on
just
a
from
very
customers,
regular basis.
but
Yeah,
also
like
we
from
did
our
things.
Elaine, who was
Elaine,
there.
who are working with us
Margot,
to create
Jen.
more value
yeah.
for you,
So all
our
those are
customers,
the
on
folks that
top
I
of
had
BDC.
the connection that kept
As a
me
quick
connected to
recap,
SAP. I don't have a connection right
this
now.
BDC
Yeah.
provides
They
SAP
didn't do anything to me
managed
like they
data
did to you,
products in
but
a
I just
harmonized
lost the
data
connection.
model
Well,
And
I will tell you this.
SAP application.
No, I don't even have a clue who I'm
Fabric
talking
layer
about as a human
that
being at the
allows you
moment,
to
but
unify
their AR
data
team
from
for at least
SAP
CX,
and non-SAP
if there is one,
applications, along
is
with the
terrible.
world's
I have
data
no. Now
exchange
that said, I
platform
don't know a
with
single
our
human being
landmark
there, which is
partnership
why
with
I'm making that statement. I used to know
and
everybody on a
intelligent
regular basis.
applications that
Not
provide
all
you
good, but
real-time
but see,
insights and
just that
intelligence
statement.
with
When
its
you think about
end-to-end
Oracle,
business
we
process
we know a
context.
lot of people.
oh yeah, and we
You
can
think
name
about
a million
We're
names.
excited
Salesforce,
to announce
a
our
lot of
first
people. I
set
mean,
of
so
intelligent
it's like,
applications,
and I'm not
with
trying
cloud
to
ERP intelligence
point
for our
point
private
a
cloud
blinding
customers.
hot light on SAP,
This offering
but when
brings
it comes to
together
CX, it
finance
feels
and
like there
supply chain
hasn't
data
been that
products, including data and
continuity.
insights from
Whereas some of these
sustainability
other
control
companies,
tower, which is now part
we've
of
had a
this
continuity for
application,
decades
to
with
truly
going
Well,
back.
I think part of it's because
end-to-end
SAP,
insights
to your
for your business.
original point, since Bob left the
Second,
first time,
people intelligence.
and then, well, I
Built
guess
on
actually
top
I'll
of
say
SAP
since Jujar left after
SuccessFactors,
Bob,
SAP
um,
Fieldglass,
that
and
was the end of their
finance
commitment
data,
to
this offering
CRM.
delivers
They
unique
had it,
products and
and
out-of-the-box
they bought
insights
Hybris,
around the
remember, and
global
that somehow
workforce.
turned into
It's top
CX.
position
But that was
skilled
just like,
and
and they had,
competent,
remember SAP
all
CX
critical
Barcelona?
for
They'd
your
have
workforce
CX
transformation.
conferences, and they had a really good team
Finally,
actually.
Yeah, well,
With,
Amy Anderson,
today,
he
yeah.
was
also
that
known
whole
as
group. That
Control
I
Tower,
guess that turned into
gives you
Emarsis or something like that.
Yeah,
360
now that
view
was a
of
great.
your
Bob made that
firsthand,
acquisition, by the way.
direct,
That was a
indirect
great acquisition for
services,
them. That is a
contingent,
quality
and
product.
end-to-end expense.
But again, what are we hearing about anything that's doing so
Business
far?
Data
We're
Cloud
an
was
hour
launched with
and 20
OpenApp
minutes
as a
into this
co-tenant.
thing without a word
And today,
on
I'm
CX,
excited to
right?
also
So
partnership with Adobe.
great AI.
Oh,
Adobe
announcing
is
a partnership with
developing an
Adobe. Let's see what this is.
intelligent application that combines SAP's cloud ERP data with data in the Adobe Experience Platform.
Yay,
This allows
CX.
you, our customers, our mutual customers,
Without
to have
saying.
more accurate financial and supply chain plans in SAP.
Adobe's on a roll, that
and
means
a better,
too.
more precise marketing set of
Because
activities
ServiceNow,
in
Microsoft,
Adobe.
obviously that's GARP. and
one
now
example
SAP.
of a rapidly growing ecosystem that includes both data
Yeah.
enrichment partners as well
Notice
as
most of them
building
are
intelligent
consulting
applications
firms.
Yeah,
on top
exactly.
The vast majority.
And Palantir is not a competitor of.
And also,
No.
very
Those
exciting
are all
that
consulting
SAP
firms. That's not a
BDC,
partnership, man.
with
That's a
the
company
power
that
of SAP
implements
Databricks,
SAP and SAP
is going to be
strategy.
available in all hyperscalers.
Not the
With
same.
What
AWS
is that?
available now,
Okay,
and
Azure.
GCP and Azure
Yeah.
coming over the
Yeah, well,
next
that's the
few years.
partnerships they already do have.
That
It's
Well,
been
those are the
available.
baseline.
Right,
of these
right.
BDC innovations look in action.
Look, I'm
Please
glad for
welcome
the
me to the
Adobe
stage
partnership. I think
Orla
that's
Cullen.
smart.
But
I
once
love
again,
the.
it's just like a one. Oh, wait a minute. Is there somebody from Adobe coming out now? Let's see.
I don't know.
Doesn't look like it. She's
I can't
Orla
tell.
Cullen, SAP. I was saying, why don't they have some high-level Adobe exec to come out and? I mean, I don't. They're
Because
missing.
they're not really strategic, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's really.
They're technical partnerships, probably on a tactical level.
So with SAP Business Data Cloud, finding an intelligent application.
Oh, that's how they're doing it. So they're going to incorporate. It's kind of like Microsoft Dynamics has CRM and CX,
I'm a CFO,
and they're going to incorporate this into SAP Business Data Cloud.
How my cash flow
Maybe.
So it's like a more of a data play than a
Right,
real.
than a
yeah.
real applications thing.
Yeah.
The customer intelligence, see it?
Yep.
You don't call a CX or CRM application that's forward-facing customer intelligence.
No.
And here's another one of the screens.
So right now, it's really about data. It's not really
Yeah,
about
data, AI, and ERP, really.
Yeah.
Again, I asked Jewel, and Jewel returns for me our sustainability figures, and we can jump straight in and see how we're doing against our emissions.
I like her because she's Irish.
But there are also many other C-suite users.
I love Irish accents,
such as,
man.
for
I
example,
do. I just
Chief
love them.
Procurement Officer, who maybe wants to stay on top of spend. So in this
And
case,
Aura
I'm gonna
Cullen,
ask more
too. Cullen's a
specific question
definite Irish name.
about the linkages between
Isn't that like
suppliers,
vampires or
value
something?
deals,
Uh-oh.
opportunities.
Cullen Diaries.
And with that, again, Jewel brings me back a link, and I can jump deeper into my spend intelligence.
Brings me back a link. Bill Hader used to do a
Last
good
but not
imitation of an
least,
Irish
we're gonna
accent
take a
on
look at a
SNL.
Chief HR Officer who wants to understand more about how
All right. So
talent
right
flow
now we're
and
at
engagement
75
goes.
minutes.
So let's ask a question here again. We're going to ask the talent flow in the organization.
Oh, talent. So this is not CX in any way. So the Adobe thing, they sort of mention it, and that's the end of it.
That's I thought we were gonna get some real meat there, but
Some context, at least,
Yeah.
on why you did it,
First of all,
other than we're going to use their data too.
application.
so
We can
even
see
that
we have
kind of
many
tells
different
you
insights that are available
the
in
lack
the
of
box.
importance.
And we can also see a comprehensive list.
Because think about
of
all the
HR
stuff
data
that
products available in the package.
the creative, not creative,
So I'm gonna go
the
ahead and
Experience
install
Cloud
that.
does for Adobe, and all the different components that are definitely more CX
Now we
than
have it installed.
hardcore ERP.
So if
You
we
know,
zoom out, what we can
so
see here
it
is,
still feels like
our workforce
CX is
composition insights.
a
There are many
stepchild
other
to a
packages
certain
here as
extent.
well.
Oh, it's
Compensation insights,
that would be
career
giving
insights,
it
with
more
many, many more to
credit
follow.
than SAP does,
So jumping
calling it a
straight in,
stepchild.
we are
It's an
overview page, a
orphan,
bird's eye view of
right?
talent
It's an
flow
orphan
across
that they
organizations.
pass on the
Again, we can go
street
deeper,
begging, and
and
they
we can see those
ignore it.
metrics by role,
Right?
location,
They
and many,
ignore
many
the
more.
kid. We don't need to talk
Within
to you.
here,
We don't
we
even
have many,
want to
many
give you a
different
nickel.
dashboards that we can check. First, we have a
I mean,
comparison tool
that
where we
was
can
I
estimate
had
the
some hope. Oh,
discount.
this Adobe. Let's hear
We can
some
go
more.
deeper
Let's
on
get
our
some
role composition and see the job
executive
area, job
conversation
family.
around that.
Disappeared.
See how
Just
our
nothing.
organization
It's almost
is
pro
allocated
forma.
over our geographical location.
Oh well, I mean,
And also
you
we
know,
can start to see
look,
about
I will
talent
say
flow.
this. I'm glad for that, nonetheless.
With the talent flow, we can see those
Maybe there's.
that have recently left the company.
I don't
those
hold
who
out
joined the
any hope,
company,
but
and
it's
our
a nice,
overall
good
attrition
lines. I
trends.
love what they're doing,
All of these
how they
items are rich
utilize
business
Walk Me. I
context
am
and ready
big
for
on what
action.
that is.
And they're insights
I
we can
think the
trust
UI
and
is
we'll
really
use on
nice.
my
I
HR
think
data products.
what they're doing
And
with the
now if I look across
integration
my
with
organization,
Joule
I
and
see the overall attrition is slightly
now
higher than we would have expected.
is really
And we should
good.
investigate that further.
There's a number of like nice things,
So to investigate that
but
further,
overall,
I'm going to bring in my data scientist to help me
I'm
understand
almost
attrition trends
want to
and
say,
cause
who
what's behind
cares
them.
about the rest of
So
this?
here we're going to see a video
Let me
from
ask
a
you
data
this though:
scientist
what
who's
what
working
is the
in Business Data
audience
Cloud.
for
And the
like
first
a
thing we'll see
Sapphire? Is
is
our
our data scientist
it's
opens
not
SAP
the
Data
audience
List
that we see
directly
like
in
at
Business
Adobe
Data
Summit,
Cloud.
right?
No.
Here we can see
The
how
I've been to
information
multiple
connects to the
Sapphires,
data
and the
products
audience
within
is
Business Data Cloud.
more IT
We can
focused
see
than
line by
anything
line
else.
the
It's
different
like
information that's available
highest
to us.
level execs
also
that
to
you'll
take
find
steps
who are
to prepare our
ordinarily
data
there from big
for our
companies
efficient
will
forecast
be
modeling.
CIOs.
And again, we
The
do all of this
CIOs,
right here
CTOs, but
in SAP
CIOs even
Databricks
more.
in SAP
So
Business
it's kind of
Central.
like the business
Here we
IT
can
guy.
see our data
Is
science
Maybe
the
Python
they're
notebook
giving
to
that
make it
audience what
confident
they
and
want.
intuitive
Oh, I'm sure they
format
are, but
to help us navigate
it's
the
still
road
a
ahead.
strategic. If they want to
After we have our
compete with
efficient forecast, we
Oracle
go
and
back to our
Salesforce
dashboard.
and
We want to understand what's
Microsoft,
actually driving
etc.,
this
they
rise
need to
in
have
efficiency.
CX.
So we're
If
going to
they can even care to say end to end on the enterprise, how do you not have
and we're going to create a new
CX?
scenario.
Yeah.
How do you not have
And the
it?
first thing
And
we
the
can
other
see is
thing
all
is
the different drivers we
we
have
talk
available
about
to us.
it's
We
not
mentioned
just
things
the
like
people in the
population ratio,
room. This is
we
the
have also
this is
development
the
information, and
2
also
hours and 90
employee
minutes
satisfaction scores, to name
that
but a few.
SAP is going to get the most
So we can get our
attention in the
settings going,
year for their opening
and then we can run
keynote
our
for their
scenario.
big event.
Using
And
the
so you're
powerful
not just
AI
speaking to the
simulation
folks in
capabilities
the room, you're
available in
speaking
SAP
to
Business Data Cloud, we can
potentially
analyze
way more
tens
people
of thousands of
virtually,
different business
and you
simulations
have
on
not
these
said
key
much
drivers
at all
to see
about
which ones have the
where
most
CX
impact on the
stands,
overall
or
efficiency.
maybe not
So
saying
here we
it
can see the
says it. I don't
compensation
know.
ratio
Right.
and
I mean,
the
look,
statistics of
obviously,
both key contributors.
I'm sure SAP doesn't give a
But now we
crap
can
about
go
what we're
further.
thinking about CX, since we're CX
I
people,
confirm
number
that
one,
down
and
my
since
analysis by
they don't
bringing
give
in
a crap
additional
about
data
what
such as
analysts
financial
think.
data.
Generally, I don't
And
think,
behind the
unless you're
scenes, we
maybe
see the
Gartner.
BDC knowledge graph.
But
I can see the relationships between my
but
data, and I can leverage the rich
that
semantics
said,
and context for training AI models.
they're
So looking at that a
they're
bit deeper,
missing
we can start to see
the only
that
time
allow
they
us
ever
to
showed
ask more
real
nuanced
interest in the last
questions
few years in
about determine
CX.
and get a
That,
breakdown
when I
of
say real
total
interest,
cost
meaning they made
per
a point
sector
of it,
per location.
was when it was announced that it was the world's largest business
And we start to ask questions
technology.
about how we can further
And
remove
that
the
year
call
they said
center.
we're pivoting to CX. It was
So bring
McDermott
that
who
data
said it.
back to us,
And
so
then
when
a
we have
year
our
later they
business data
pivoted
coming
away
together with our
again.
finance data, we want to look at the
That was
future
the
and understand
third
our
the
employee expenses,
third
reducing
pivot that
salary,
they were
our
making
travel expenses,
by that
layered
time.
against
So
those
and
factors.
that was
And
18.
again, we're brought back that information.
So
And
they
finally,
don't
we can
care.
and get a clear
They just
view
don't
of total
care about it.
cost
And
per team.
I keep hearing internal stories about them not caring, meaning they literally do not
Armed with
care.
specific
Right.
information on how we
And
can
they
more
don't,
actively
as
improve our
far as they're
retention,
concerned, they'll
we
just
can open
leave it
SAP
alone.
success factors
And
take
that's
action.
fine if that's the
So
mission
here
they
we have
want, but
seen
don't
from a single
pretend.
solution, SAP
Don't even
Business
use
Data
the
Cloud
friggin' words
enables
customer experience,
business
because they don't have the
leaders
right to if
and
you're not
data
doing
experts
anything
to
with it.
connect all their data
Well, I may have
across
said the right to
multiple
do what they
systems
want,
and
but
deliver the answers our chief HR officer needed.
let's say this.
Yeah.
And with that, back to you, Mohammed.
I think it's like just be honest with what's important. That's all. You know.
Yeah.
I was getting a little confident on the stairs here. Thank you, Orla. And as you've seen in today's keynote, when the
Ooh.
flywheel kicks in, the application, data, and AI layer are indistinguishable. You saw great examples of those in the end-to-end demo in the beginning.
You know,
It was not end to end. There was no. Where was sales?
And certainly
it was
They
and
even
more.
mentioned sales, but they didn't even talk about it.
It was and more.
Yeah, that's right, and
we
more.
continue to now innovate also aggressively
Maybe
in
now
each
we'll
of our
hear.
application domains.
Okay.
Finance, spend, supply chain, HCM, and customer experience.
Yeah,
There you go.
Our
They,
aim
they
is
They
said
said
it.
it through now. It's 3
best in class
times.
in each of these domains, and second to none. And with
You're second
the
to
industry
everybody.
specificity
Actually,
needed
no,
to
they're right. They're
get
not
AI.
second to none. There's 6 to everyone.
We would have had to double.
Now I'm sure there's
the
going to be
keynote
like
time
a
if we were going to go
a
a
CX
walkthrough of some
keynote
of
or
these
something like that,
innovations
which
in
I'm
this keynote. So
guessing
we didn't do
will
that.
go
But we
pretty
do
deep.
have
But
dedicated theater
it's
sessions
about
for
the
each of
open
these
Do you
keynote.
hear what he
areas.
just said?
What?
He said, well, there's a lot here. Basically, there's a lot here. So we decided not to go through a walkthrough of each of these, but we have dedicated areas, meaning they're not going to talk about CX again. They're just mentioning it again.
Well, I'm guessing he's getting ready to
Yeah,
wrap
this
it
is
up. I'm
wrapping
hoping,
time.
but that just tells you the importance of CX. You don't. This is the opening keynote. If you don't want to talk about it, that says a lot. That's all I'll say about it.
Yeah.
For your last mile development, automation, and integration needs.
Could you
Let's
imagine
start with
Oracle
innovations in the business
not talking about
transformation
CX at this point?
No.
Last
I
year
mean,
in
it's
Orlando, as Christian said, we
absolutely
announced
essential
the
part of
acquisition
their
the
portfolio.
world's
Here's the other
leading
thing,
single
though.
adoption
Microsoft, if you
platform
look at the part of the
Today,
portfolio that all
I'm
their
excited
business
to
apps
share
are, it's
that
like 5
WalkMe
billion,
is
which for anyone else
already
is an
available
amazingly
in
large amount of money.
core
For them,
applications like
it's literally
SAP
incidental to
SuccessFactors,
the point they could
SAP
drop it
Ariba, Concur,
and they wouldn't lose
and
much in the
SAP
way of
Sales
sleep
and
over revenue.
Service.
That
In the
said,
second half
what
of the year,
Microsoft's
it will
absolutely
also be
cognizant
available
of
in our
is
private
if we're
and
going to
public
be, if
cloud
we're going to have an
ERPs,
ecosystem
so
and
you
a
can get the
platform,
full
whether
power of
whether
WalkMe
CX
across
or
the
even
SAP
in their case,
Business Suite.
HR and ERP and finance,
On the process side, I'm
those
excited to announce
that
AI-driven
suite, that
Transformation
Dynamics,
Advisor
has
and
to be
root cause
part of it,
analysis
because
capabilities
other than
in
that, we
SAP
can't claim
right now.
ecosystem and
With
platform.
these,
We can't
you can
provide it
isolate
because we're
business
missing
challenges
big
from your
pieces
financial
if we
reports
don't
to get
have the
tailored
business app. So
recommendations
they
for
may even be a
improvement
loss leader, so
and
to speak, but they're not.
analysis
But
to
you get my point.
correlate
Not much in terms of
challenges
revenue, but
that you can
mission
then develop
critical
an
in
action
terms of
plan for.
ecosystem. That's a company that has some vision.
Finally, on the
These guys don't
systems
have
or
a clue
enterprise
on
architecture
this.
side,
Not a
we're
clue.
excited to
Maybe
And it's
announce
obvious.
could it be that they
AI-assisted
just
architecture guidance in
are
IaaS.
resigned to
This
being a
capability automatically
second
checks your
tier
enterprise
player in
architecture
terms
for
of the big
potential
six?
improvements and
Like
creates
they're not going
well-defined
to
steps
pass
to act
Salesforce. They're
upon.
not going to pass
With these insights, you can
ServiceNow
focus
at this
on
point. They're not going to
high-priority
pass
initiatives
Oracle at
to
this point.
create
They're
more
not going to
value
pass
for your
Adobe on the
organization.
digital experience side.
Now, on
So
to business
maybe
technology
they're
And
just
they're
platform,
not
saying,
going to pass
BTP,
Microsoft
which is
either.
the
So,
foundation for
but here's,
SAP Business
I
Suite
guess, like the
and the
thing is,
most
maybe they
seamless
think
way
like that,
to
but
extend, automate,
all
and
the people
integrate
that
SAP
have
applications
done what
into your
ServiceNow
landscape.
is doing, the vast
Within
majority of those
BTP,
folks came from
SAP
SAP.
built
So they could
is
have
our
done it.
solution for
yeah,
When
of
you
course
think
they
about it.
could. Well, I mean, Bob was there twice. Okay,
Available as
so
part of
it
SAP
would
Build,
have been
I'm
done.
excited
He
to
did it
announce
with
Skill
Microsoft when he
Builder
was there.
and AI
He took it
agent
from a
skill builder
second,
in Joule
an
Studio.
average
Skill
to
Builder
decent
enables you
CRM
to
to
define
world class.
simple, rule-based
So
tasks. An AI agent
they
builder
had
helps you
the
create
people. That's not
custom
it.
agents
I don't think.
that
I think
tackle
it's just they
goal-oriented and
literally,
complex
he's
business
talking.
scenarios
They were
with
talking
dynamic
about how
planning
best of breed
and
is no longer
rate-based.
viable. Well, what are people supposed to
We're
do with
also
CX then?
very excited to announce
Right? If this
that we
best of breed
plan
doesn't
to
work
make
and you don't
SAP
provide it with
BTP
any
available in all major
obviousness.
hyperscaler marketplaces in
I
the
mean,
second half
this
of
what he's talking about now.
2025.
This is like
This will bring
Everybody.
table
BTP
stakes,
on
basically.
Yeah, it's
AWS,
Everybody's got to work
everybody.
with the
Cloud,
big
and
hyperscalers.
Microsoft
The only
Azure
one who's put a
to
real spin on
seamlessly
that is
leverage
Oracle.
BTP
Well, that's
for
because
your
they're their own
development and
hyperscaler,
Right,
right?
and then they integrated themselves with all the across
Now,
all of these
we know getting
hyperscalers,
Yeah,
to the
exactly.
right?
flywheel
Which is a
requires
phenomenally
more
smart
than
move.
just
Again,
amazing products
Oracle,
and tools.
different
It
level.
requires a
And
capable
I looked many
and
years ago. I
trusted
couldn't stand
partner
Oracle. I
to
love
help
them
guide
now.
you
I
through
love
that
what they're
journey.
doing. I love their culture made a
And today,
dramatic
I'm
change.
really excited to
The
announce our new
strategy is
initiative
something.
on this
Even when
front
my
with
worst moments with
Accenture
Oracle, though, I always saw the
called
visionary
Advance.
side of them. Always
Advance
saw it
will
because
help
I knew Larry
customers
was just
with
he was that
annual
way. He
revenues
got
of
it.
$5 billion
He loves
to
technology, so and
achieve
he
their
put
business
and he sees how
transformation
to apply
objectives
it to
by
bigger
creating
problems,
a
even though he
streamlined
doesn't always
pathway
present that
to the
way. But
cloud.
nonetheless,
Through a
And
combination of SAP Business
he let's
Suite
face it,
and
he's the
Accenture's
other
long-standing
godfather of
consulting
CRM. All these
expertise,
yeah,
companies
Advance will
were birthed
fast-track
from
transformation
Oracle.
through
yeah.
So
ready-to-use
he knew
pre-configured
exactly how
tailored
important
packages
applications are,
across the
particularly
SAP
CRM and CX.
Business Suite.
So even that is different
This
than
now
what
completes
has
our
come about
walkthrough of
here.
the innovations
Well,
across
Larry
here
at
they
the
our
core knew
decline.
about it.
across applications,
Here,
data, and
SAP
AI.
at their core,
We know
it was never at their
achieving
core.
the flywheel
Right.
effect in single
They're out of touch with the world when it comes to the importance of CX. Completely out of touch. They don't get it.
for your
They
organization
clearly
by
do
the
not get
end-to-end
it. And
contract.
again, look,
It
obviously we're
enables
CX people,
this
CRM,
massive
CX, customer
And
engagement
now
people. So
I'm
we're going to
thrilled
have
to announce
a
a
heavier
customer that's
emphasis than most.
personally
But
very
the
important
reality
to
is
me.
we're not
Please
stupid
join
either.
me in
I mean,
welcoming
I'm not saying,
SAP's Chief
well, because
Operating
CRM, CX
Officer and
makes
Executive
ERP
Board member,
useless. I mean, ERP is
Sebastian
incredibly
Steinhauser, to
important,
talk
but
about how SAP
You know
but
what?
so is CRM, CX.
I would say that either they don't get it, or they're resigned to say, you know what, we can't do it. We can't get to the level these other folks are, so we'll just do what we need to do here.
all of that?
But
I don't know
that's the
which one.
thing. They're not even doing what they need to do. Even at that level,
Raise
they're
your
not doing it.
hand if you're part of an IT team. Come on, don't
All
be
right.
shy.
I'm
Yes,
hoping this ends
yes.
very shortly.
So now keep your
Well, we can
hand
always
raised
end it anytime we
if
want.
you know the
That's the
feeling
good news.
of having
We're
very
running this watch party, not
You know,
them.
the good news,
stakeholders.
we're both at our homes. Oh, look at now. See, there's
Believe
a
me,
Finally, the first
new
audience
ideas
check comes.
literally
What is it?
God.
Let's
every
see.
day.
we're
Almost.
almost 2 hours in, or an
Right.
hour and a half in, or whatever it is.
We're 1 hour and 25 minutes in, and they show an audience shot in the
with
dark.
budget and
absolutely compliant for dominating our CFO.
Unbelievable.
Let's talk
Oh my
about
God.
how we at SAP
SAP,
make
wake
this
up,
real.
man.
How
Just
SAP
wake.
They don't.
runs
I don't
SAP
think they
using the
realize
power of
how
apps,
important
data, and
the
AI
showing
flywheel.
energy and showing
Let's start
customers
with
and
AI.
hearing ambient noise is
Joule,
to the
our
impact of a
developers,
virtual
consultants,
audience.
colleagues
I
in
mean,
You know what
HR
it is, and I
really
don't
get
think they care or will listen
significantly
either. They're
more
arrogant
efficient.
company, and they
But this
basically
is a
think they know what they
public
know, and they know more than
Across
anybody else, and
SAP,
consequently,
we
why
track
bother to
several
listen to anybody
hundred
unless that
million
person
in
influences their stock
AI-powered
price.
efficiencies committed to our budget.
Ugh, they frustrate me.
Next,
I had such a good relationship with them for 15 years
earlier
too.
this year, we became
Used to be their
customer
advisor.
zero
Used to work with
of
them a lot.
business
Was
data
amazed at the level
cloud.
of innovation coming out
This
of that
offer
place.
to us
Always
the
did
step
say though
change
they never knew how
in
to speak
our
to the world at
data
all.
strategy,
I once
allowing us
told
to
them
finally connect
when they made
all
a
of our
particularly
data
egregious
and
communications
provide
error,
better
let's just say,
insights
that
across our
I said, you know what your
finance,
problem is? I said, your
workforce,
problem
and
isn't
tech
that
planning. Next up, we are
you
excited to go live with the
you
first intelligent
uh,
app, People
shoot
Intelligence.
shoot yourself in the foot. I said, your
Move to
problem
the
is
app layer
first you put your foot in
and
your
talk
mouth, then
about
you shoot yourself
how
in the
we
foot.
simplify. At SAP, many meetings don't start anymore with PowerPoint.
So now we're doing
Instead, we
productivity
use
and
Signavio and
efficiencies
LeanIX to
stuff.
discuss how we simplify
Signavio.
processes and evolve our enterprise.
Well, he said specifically he's talking
And
to
with
IT people
WalkMe,
here.
we are super excited to
But makes
supercharge
sense.
change
Yeah.
management.
I mean, again, I have no problems with them talking about other things, obviously, but the lack of any, I mean, they mentioned the word customer experience or wrote the word customer experience
At
twice
SAP,
and
we
mentioned the
moved
word
from
sales
ECC
once.
to
That's
Cloud
it.
ERP
At least
and
as
the
far as I
SAP
know.
Business Suite. So we are all
There's
in
certain points I
on
just want
RISE
to start
with
tuning
SAP.
out.
Along the journey,
Yeah, I mean it's
we use BTP
yeah, I'm
for
hoping it
clean
wraps up
core,
very shortly.
and with that, we can
It just
always
started
consume SAP's
weird
latest
because he
innovation
just came out
with
and
zero, literally zero.
it was almost like he was in mid sentence or something. But
And he came out with no apparent audience, no ambient noise.
yeah, we
And
couldn't hear it.
I thought, and literally they darkened the audience, the chairs where the audience was sitting, darkened to the point you didn't know there was anyone there. And then the weird thing was when Muhammad was walking off the stage and people were clapping, and he started coming on, it just abruptly cut off all the clapping. Like everyone stopped at the same second, which meant they literally cut the sound of the audience.
They had a big stop clapping sign that
At the stop clapping 3, 2, 1 now. Right. It was unbelievable. That's like for some reason Christian didn't want anybody's sound to get in his way, I guess.
Oh my God, they're bringing out more people.
Yeah, I know.
We might have to cut this short.
I'm up for it. Not a problem. Wait, who is it? Anybody I know? No, I don't know.
Anon, CIO of Kind.
What was my favorite snack when
Oh,
I
the bar.
Oh,
Okay.
I like
it. Is I do too. I think they're great. Of course, he was carrying one.
Yeah,
I would be carrying one in my pocket all the time too.
Cloud, and how has the journey been so far?
Sure, Seb, thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, he's got the Kind t-shirt.
Yeah, I actually do like Kind bars. They're great.
Business and brand. It was founded with a vision
Satisfy
of
sweet
creating a
tooth with
brighter and
pretty
healthier
decent
world,
ingredients in them.
one snack,
Natural
one act at a time.
ingredients.
Yeah. Well,
Many of you may not
like the
know,
quality, for example, of the dark
honest,
chocolate on the sea salt caramel and almonds dark chocolate one. It's good quality.
Yeah, I like those things too.
They have minis too, and they also have frozen Kind bars.
You know who would be a good spokesman for their mini? Or shall I say?
Yeah, I think you already gave that one away. To show the picture at the end.
Snacking to our consumers. One of the biggest challenges in integrating.
I just want to see how this thing ends at this point. I want to see how they close it out. I want to
traditional CPG
because it's just been a. I want to do our wrap up, but I want to see how this thing ends.
Scalable ERP to support the anticipated 2 to 3 times.
Oh, I'm good. I'll work on my phone for a while.
I should start doing like promos for upcoming shows, like today at noon. The Crunch with Rebecca and her guest Ian Gotts from Element Cloud.
Is that today?
Today at noon.
Between the mothership and within the division as well. So we needed a more cohesive technology foundation.
All right, I already this keynote is for what it's been. It's been too long.
while
God,
doing
yeah,
the information
way too
flow
long.
between different
I'm trying to think.
business units.
ServiceNow was about 75
So with
minutes,
all these inputs, when we looked
if I'm
at
not
the
mistaken.
marketplace in early
That's what I would
2023,
call the tolerable edge.
SAP Cloud ERP
Yeah, and
came up on the
I'll be
chart,
brutally
and
honest.
it's
There's
a
a lot more
no-brainer for us
energy
to go
involved
after
in
that
that.
solution.
Oh, there's
I
no
think,
It's an
energy in
advanced
this at all.
solution, as you
I
all
think
know,
if you bring
designed
some
to bring the
energy,
speed
you
and
get
agility
you
what
get a
we
little
need
bit
for
more
our
of allowance in
important
time.
brands,
Yep.
and it's also quickly deployable across multiple business units. The overhead
The
associated
other
with,
thing
like you
that's
said,
been
is
missing
very
that
light
usually
compared to
all
a
these things
traditional
have
ERP stack
little video
and
vignettes.
on-premise
Has there been a
suite
video
what you
vignette?
have to maintain in the systems. And last but not least,
I don't think I've
the
seen any
most
kind of
important
like
thing, it's an ideal fit
No.
stories with a
for a
video
two-tier
vignette in there,
architecture
and those things are
since
helpful
Mars is already
because they do
No.
break things up, and they add a
So
certain
what's
level
next
of
on Kind's
production
transformation
level that you kind of
Sure.
like.
I think
To
the other
start off
thing
with the
is
journey itself,
they're
we
missing.
took a
Wow,
simple
wait a minute.
crawl, walk, and run methodology. As you can see, the brands behind me.
No, I don't
we
think there's
want
been
to
a
deploy
single
the
video other than the
solutions
very
what
beginning. There's
business
been
needs
not.
at a time.
They're not even
So what
vignettes.
we
They were
did
just little
is
video
we
promo
started
type
off
thing
by
in the very beginning
having
with
an
like
MVP
those
option
people
for
walking, that
viable
young woman
product
walking.
Yeah, the
cloud
little
Like
walker. Yeah, the
yeah, but
wine.
those are more like
with
animated GIF
adopting
files,
the fit for
right?
standard solution as
They're
it
not
was
really
provided by the
videos.
Like the
cloud at
nice
the time.
like customer
Using a
case
greenfield
story kind of
approach,
little.
Yeah.
Those things are really nice when they're done well.
Produce things.
from our
Yep.
legacy systems into the
I
cloud
still
ERP,
remember one
but
SAP
up to the
did
best
years
standards.
ago
At the same time,
with
they want to
McLaren,
modernize our core ERP
and they had
system
this
with
giant
processes.
screen on the stage. I
So
mean, it
with
was
a better
huge. It
user interface
extended
and
from
reporting
a very long
capabilities,
stage and extended from
users
one end
could
of the
use
stage to the
SAP
other, and
from
there
the
were like
get-go.
multi-screens all
To
the
be
way
honest,
across.
they were
And
really
at the
ecstatic
McLaren
to
video,
have such
they
a
were talking
simple
about it, and at the end of the
so that
video,
their
they had a
day-to-day
car
business
go
operations.
from the
The
left
result was
end of the screen
game-changing for
all the way
multiple
to the right
businesses,
end of the
which
screen,
grew
right side of
more
the
than
screens.
high
It
double
was,
digits
and
in
the
the last 2
sound
years,
file, it was
is being
amazing.
supported
It was
by
like
the cloud
boom,
ERP
and
by automating several business
punctuated a
processes in the
great video to begin with.
Following that,
Like
we
when you,
onboarded Nature's
a
Bakery.
lot of cases,
So it
like
has
when you
its own
before you bring on the
complexities. So we
customer,
had
and
manufacturing
let's see a
capabilities
little
with
bit more about
manufacturing units within Nature's
Kind,
Bakery.
and then they do
And
the
we
little
wanted to
video
then
vignette, and
show
Yeah.
it's a
that
nice
business
setup to
can
bring on the
modernize its
guy
cloud
or the
ERP with
lady
the same
for the
custom commerce
conversation.
template.
This
And we
is,
did successfully take
when
that
you
business to
think
go
of
live
like
in early
not
this year.
technical production value,
So
but
looking ahead, to your first
experiential
question,
production
Yeah.
value. This has
we have
been like
gained a lot
lacking
of muscle
all
memory
Well,
through.
and
yeah, and
experience
sadly,
with
it's not like they've had no
and we're
experience at
excited
doing
to
that
take
well,
our
because
Kind
they
brand,
have multiple
almost $1 billion
times. Like
brand,
that
to the
demo that
next
was
stage.
tone deaf I was talking
In the
about, the
next
Porsche
1
demo
year, we'll
thing,
be live with the
but
solution.
the
As we
video
move to the next stage,
kind of live. It's
so
almost
this
it was
will serve as a
videos, but it
catalyst
was
for
stitched together
enabling a
as an
data-led
end-to-end
AI
thing. Was done
transformation
brilliantly.
across all our business units.
It was a great
So
demo.
I
It was
Just
just a
sort of
firmly
like
believe
wrong customer.
this will be a pivotal step for
we
us in the health and
know
wellness
what to
business unit
expect
in
with
realizing our
ServiceNow
grand
now
vision
because
of a kinder
they
world
brought on
and
Colin Fleming
also
to be
Yeah.
to
advancing
do
our
this stuff.
strategic goal of supporting
Where's
the
their
rapid
Colin
growth
Fleming?
of
Because
this
They don't
this
have
thing
anyone even
enterprise.
vaguely
Focus
like
on
Colin. They
that.
didn't. They have
Absolutely.
Julia
You
White.
can learn more about
They
the
had
book
Julia
on
White.
Mars
She's
Journey and
gone.
tomorrow's customer keynote.
Claire
With that,
Henry was
it's
running
another
AR.
focus.
She's
And back
gone.
to Christian.
All right, this is the wrap up. Bringing Christian back on.
Look,
not even any sound like any.
There was a
music.
tiny bit of
Thanks,
clapping that they like
Talking about the
turned down the
demanding CEO of
volume.
SAP.
Yeah, but not even any transition music.
No,
I mean, it's
I have to admit, Sebastian is right. The pressure on every IT team is higher than ever before to deliver projects faster and, yes, Dominic, at lower cost. So how is SAP helping every IT organization to deal with this pressure? Last year, here on stage, we made an important announcement about our integrated tool chain we are now applying in every Rise and Grow with SAP project. Take a company like ConocoPhillips. They started that journey with a heavily customized IT.
I mean, to their credit, they brought out a lot of customers, and that was fine. But again, how they handled it all just didn't work.
Processes, achieving a 94%
I was hoping that I could say, okay, well, you know what? Despite my biases, this is really good, but it isn't.
This has felt like
now
a keynote from
this year
pre-COVID time period.
making RISE and grow
Felt like a
with
keynote from the
SAP
90s.
even faster, simpler, and at lower cost. Let's start how we make the journey faster. We developed
This
AI
doesn't feel like a
agents
wrap-up.
embedded
No,
now
it certainly
across
doesn't.
the RISE tool chain to move 35% faster to our business suite.
You know, now most of the
AI
other
agents
companies, when they
perform
make a claim like
process
that,
benchmarking
even though
and
I
analysis
still think they're all stupid
as
claims,
part of
but they
Signavio.
have like
As
a
Mohammed has shown,
footnote
they
saying
also
data
optimize
from
enterprise
a
Oh
source.
yeah, right.
within LeanIX.
That doesn't seem to be anything. No, it's
Made
from
it
CRM
more
Playaz because I see it on there slide in the upper
system
right.
migration task with Joule for developer and Joule
Well, I remember
for
when
consultant.
we were watching the that
Tomorrow, Thomas,
HubSpot
my dear
inbound
colleague,
keynote a
will
couple
share
years
more
back, and
about
she
the RISE
showed
tool
that
chain
stat, and it
how
says
it will
from
proceed in the
Readly
future.
Receiver.
Yeah, I remember.
I was like, what the hell?
Now, second, we are making it, believe it or not, simpler to do business with SAP. I want to repeat that.
There's a
Simpler
different.
to do business with SAP.
So you
We
think
heard
that's
you.
funny, right? That you've
You
always
asked
been
for
too
a simple
complex to do
way
business
to
with?
consume our business suite in the
Haha.
cloud. So we took action. And that's why I'm excited to introduce our new LOB-specific solution packages tailored to the buying centers in your company, covering finance, HR, supply chain, sales, procurement, services. And all of the packages include
Sales.
SAP Build.
They don't have a clue that
Right.
there's a difference between like CX and CRM and sales.
And I'm guessing
You know,
is it more sales operations or sales actual sales force automation?
I'm guessing sales ops to your point because they seem to have.
All the packages are delivered out
Again,
of the
it's
box,
so
as
incidental.
Mohammed
Who
has
knows?
shown, with managed integration, what we call a best of suite as a service. And finally, they include prepackaged and
Suite as a
Best of
service.
suite.
Yeah.
Best of suite as a service.
I'm not buying that
Our last
term.
announcement is to make the migration with RISE and Grow with SAP at lower cost.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, customers spend 10 times more on services compared to software. We don't want that.
Oh, you're so kind.
The software to services ratio,
So we want to charge them way more for software.
typical cost
So it'll
of
equal how
migrating
much they're spending on
Business Suite
services.
for ECC and S4 on-premise customers, especially for customers who work with us on fitting to standard and apply the RISE methodology. Come and talk to us. It's first come and first serve. So net, we are making it faster, simpler, and at lower cost to transition to the business suite with RISE and Grow with SAP. Of course, when it comes to the how of our strategy, a key part is played by our partners. So please join me in welcoming the EY Global Chair and CEO, Janet Trancalli.
Dude, when is this thing gonna end?
2026.
Janet, EY is both a fantastic partner and a customer of SAP, and you are also on your own RISE journey. Tell us a bit more, what is so differentiating for you, for EY, about the RISE journey?
Yeah, so first of all, I just have to say thanks for having us here. And I'm here with over 300 of our EY colleagues with our clients.
Damn.
And we are all so excited to be here. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. So we got to wake them up here. They've been sitting for
My
too
point
long.
exactly.
Yeah. Thank you.
Have this relationship
I don't think she meant it the way we mean it.
No.
as a customer, but also as a partner. And I think that's really important. So let's talk.
The sad part, this isn't necessarily low energy because we can't hear anything.
Well, but she sees it, so she
Yeah.
sipped it. And that's more of an indictment from her, not from us. We're not in the room.
And we
Wonder how many people are in the room.
From that one shot we saw, it looked pretty crowded.
Well, I'm guessing, however the Orlando Convention Center ballroom holds,
And
it's
just
probably full.
Another thing, though, like Bill McDermott couldn't wait to say how many people are at service now. Like, thanks to the 25,000 people to make this the biggest one. We haven't heard anything about, like,
back to that foundation and trust.
you know, who's there? How many people are there? You know, that's what usually a
Streamline
bragging point.
the clean core that you and I have talked about.
Okay, so it says
greater
here,
automation,
and I
and then
used
greater
Copilot again.
across the totality
SAP
of our
Sapphire
organization.
is expected to host over 12,000 attendees. Now listen to the people that they're talking about. This includes CIOs, SAP consultants, IT directors, transformation leads, and enterprise architects, meaning everybody tied to technology.
So that's really important. Then we
Well,
pivot.
what was
No
it at
strategy,
its heyday?
guys.
What was it at its heyday?
And this is
Like, it
exciting.
had to be
This is where
way
you
more
and
than
I,
that.
your
I don't think
our
so.
organization get to
No,
partner
because it's always
together
there.
and help our
Well, that's
clients
true.
work on their own
But
transformation
ServiceNow's
journey
now
across the
double. I
globe.
mean, that's
And
pretty.
what's really important
Wow.
there is 70%
Let me
of
try.
our clients are
I'll
fueled
see
by
what I
SAP.
can find
So
out.
that talks about your market presence. And it's across all sizes of companies, all geographies, all
Oh, yeah, here we
sectors
go.
and
Woo!
industries. And you don't need to be
Oh,
as
what? Oh, no,
complex
that's
and
wrong.
EY
Okay.
to take advantage
The
and
largest
benefit
SAP
from this
Sapphire
technology.
attendees on record
And
was
you and I get to
2013
hear stories
when they
all the
hosted
time where
over
our
20,000 in
organizations are teaming
person.
together.
And then it says
That's
in
so much
nearly
fun for us. And we
80,000
get to see and we have
online.
stories to share.
That's not that much.
One in particular that
Back in
talks about, that
2013,
it's
though,
not,
that's
Yeah.
just launching
So over
companies is
20.
so
recently
20 and
we
yeah.
helped a
So
private
Look,
startup
Oracle hosts
pharmaceutical
more,
company
Salesforce
do
hosts more,
outsourcing of
Adobe
the
probably
operations
hosts
of
around
finance,
a little
accounting, and
less, maybe,
procurement.
but right around there.
And
right around there.
Now
really what was
ServiceNow
impressive,
hosts
of
more.
course, we did it in 5 months, so we implemented SAP. But what I love about
That
that
says
story
something.
is that we were able to take all of that stuff off the table and let the organization focus on what was most important, and that's bringing the life-changing technology to their patients, and I think and the life-changing solutions to their patients.
On a positive
And this
note,
is where
I
across
do
all
like
industries,
Christian's jacket.
technology helps
Yeah,
organizations
no, he
focus on
dresses cool.
mission critical
Yeah.
and what
Kind of
their
dresses
purpose is
nice
all
and
about.
really cool. I like
Bennett,
it.
I mean, it's
I'm
very
I'm so
clear
grateful
when
for the
you
fact
talk
that
about
you
whys in
that
context
the
of business
industry changed to the point where you
now.
didn't have to wear a
I
tie
mean,
and
we are
suit
running so many
anymore.
programs
Lord,
there.
I was
God,
I
I
was ahead
hated
of
that.
that. I was ahead of that
play
trend.
today
I
already
once
in
went
our
to the CRM conference in
And we talk
Florida,
about
which
this
was
a lot.
this exclusive
When we're
resort,
looking at
and it was
AI,
only invitation
this is a
only, and the
topic at the
executives got
boardroom
this
all the way
amazing
down to
treatment. I
customer
was supposed to
engagement.
speak
So it's
there,
on all
and nobody
levels
told
and
me
all
about a
layers
dress
of
code, so I
transformation. And
wore
there's four things that, in
a
my
sports
opinion, that we
jacket
have
and
to get right,
nice
especially when it comes
pants and
to
stuff.
the
And
agentic
everybody in the
AI
audience
being front and
was, I
center.
am
And
not
first,
joking.
I always want to talk about
Everybody in the
value.
audience was
Our
dressed in like
customers want to see a
flip-flops and
clear
shorts
path
and
to
t-shirts and
value.
beachwear.
And we talk a lot
And I
about that
literally
in
said to the
productivity, but I
audience
also think we have
when
to
I
talk
started my
about that in
speech,
terms of growth. And so organizations
you
like
know, I
EY,
am so
we want to make
disappointed.
sure that our colleagues
And they're looking
are
at me kind of
working
puzzled.
on
I said,
high value
I've
activities.
always
And we
wanted to
talk
just
about
do
this
a
as operating at the top of your
presentation in like a
license,
t-shirt and
because that's the
jeans.
productivity piece
And
of
no
it.
one told me I
But
could
what
do
I get
that
excited
here.
about is the growth opportunities, and we pivot and we talk about growth.
I had no idea. You
With
should have
all of
seen it. It
your
was like the
embedded
most
solutions,
casual
think,
thing ever.
up to
Since
hundreds of
then,
solutions. Then you
I've
take a
done
company like
multiple
ours with our
presentations and,
domain and sector
well, not
expertise and our
jean shirts
solutions.
and jeans,
That's
I
really
guess
where
is
you
what
can
it was.
propel that value for our
High
clients and
calculator,
create
Mama. First of all, that's a
real
really good
growth
name.
opportunities as well. So I
This
look at
is
productivity
not the
growth.
place to
So
come
that is
if you're
all
trying to
about
figure out how to work with
value.
SAP.
So then
We
we have
don't
to
know
talk
any.
about humans at the center.
We don't know
And
anybody
as
in that
CEOs,
regard.
Yeah, it's
we're
not our
spending
world.
time
Sorry about
shifting
that.
workforces of people and agents.
She's ABAP.
But
I
really
remember when
focused
I
on
actually
humans at
took
the center.
ABAP
Human
programming
sentiment is more important than ever before
training
when we're looking at
in the
AI to
early
make sure that
90s.
it's ethical and it's being used as
It drove
intended.
me
I think
so
that's
far away from
important.
wanting to do
It's
a
about
BS
powering the
program.
workforce
I
and
did
not
not want to do
replacing
that.
the workforce. And I
Well,
think
to
that's really
much
critical.
credit to what is it,
So then that
Calculator
brings us
Mama,
to
that
trust.
she's
And so
got skills in
organizations
there
like
because
EY
Yeah.
are
I
highly
can't imagine how
regulated.
hard it
Many
must be.
organizations here with you
I
are
think
highly
at the time it was
regulated.
like ABAP 3 or
And that's
4.
going
I
to be
can't remember. It
really
was
important.
way,
And
way
we talked
back.
about that already during the plenary. But when it comes to SAP, these are the books and records of our organizations. And so having
Even
controls and a risk
having,
framework around that is really
I'm sure
important
they're
from a
probably a
trust
sponsor too, because all those people there.
And then lastly, we look
But
at data, and that's
this
not
is
last.
kind of a
Having
hard
a data strategy is really important.
time
And
to be
making
on
sure
the
that
stage when you know people are ready to
organizations
get
like
the
ours
hell
are
out.
always looking to make it more accurate, better, cleaner, and that's going to be really important and safer. And so really excited to see the partnership that you have with Databricks. And that's where ecosystem partners really come together to accelerate that journey.
I mean, Janet, you are describing beautifully the the flywheel about apps, data, and AI. Now, I cannot have
Okay,
you
Service
on
now
stage
says
not talking about
AI,
uncertainty
data,
and the
and
outlook for the
workflows.
year. I mean, you're talking to so many C-level executives. What is your outlook for the year, and what kind of role can tech
This
play
is 2 hours. This feels like 12.
So
Yeah,
I don't
this
have a
is
crystal ball,
not
but
the way
I am
you wrap it
absolutely an
up.
optimist,
No.
and I do think that things are going to steady out.
Nothing
and
should ever be
move
2 hours on a
ahead. But
keynote anyway.
in all of the conversations that I'm having, we talk about.
And here's the weird
this
thing
past
about
year
this.
being,
They've done a nice job of
complexity,
bringing
uncertainty,
on customers and different voices,
to make decisions,
and yet
with
it feels
fast,
like it's been 3 hours.
precision
Yeah.
decisions, I would say.
Yeah. Well, again, the production is
But I'm
it's
also a
it's
believer that
let's say
organizations,
well
since
done, meaning
built
it's
in
kind
place
of
for no one, and so we
technically
have to
nice.
be
Technically.
making decisions.
But
That's where data and
it's
technology
just
we talk about that
boring,
help clients
and
make high-risk decisions
and they're missing
in periods of uncertainty.
the
And
right
that's
brain
where
is
companies can really
100%
differentiate
missing from
themselves
this.
from the competition and spread out.
100%, and the fact that
And
you
then
would
the other
even
piece of that is
allow that to
everybody's in a
happen
different place
tells
on
you
their
something
journey. We
about
have
a
to
culture that
recognize
needs
So some are just
dramatic
starting to
repair,
clean their data,
or
make sure that
or
it's fit
just
for
throw it out
purpose,
and
and have a
rebuild it.
strategy. That's one end.
Or
And
like
that's
you
not
said,
going to happen.
maybe they're okay with
where
where
They
they are.
shouldn't be, because it's not the world that Gen Z or even millennials, which Christian is, right, are living in. They are right-brained, all of them. Well, not all of them. He apparently isn't, but there's a lot of
really bring them on that way.
the emotional part of this is important.
Thanks a lot, Janet.
Again,
Also, thanks to you.
not going to
for
be.
joining us here
I doubt
today.
we're going to get a call saying, "Well, what do we do to take care of
Thanks
this?"
to you and the team.
I don't think we're going to be hearing from them.
We are having.
Oh, we love it.
Many
Yeah,
Thank you, and have a great Sapphire. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Janet.
Well, that's about it, right?
Now,
I'm trying to wrap them up.
we are coming to the part of the keynote which makes me most nervous. So as I said at the beginning,
What, the wrap up?
we are closing the keynote out today with a very exciting golf announcement and a little competition. But before
Scotty
I
Scheffler.
invite our special guest here on stage, let's roll the video.
There you go, a video.
This is the Ryder Cup. A challenge to bring out your best.
They've always been good at sponsoring golfers, though.
To make that team.
They sponsored that famous golfer. I think his name had a Z in it.
This is where 100 years of history drives the ultimate
Arnie.
competition. Where unmissable moments combine with unimaginable drama.
Oh my goodness gracious me!
It's where legends are born. Where rookies earn their stripes.
The young rookie strikes.
Where you are part of something bigger.
Oh my word!
This is more than golf.
Oh, look at this.
This is the Ryder Cup.
Can you
It's not more than golf, though. It's still golf.
It's made real.
No matter if it's Ryder Cup or not, it's golf. I mean, I like golf. It's just not.
See who this is.
When I look at this video,
Want to put some lights on there?
It is packed with real emotions and passions by the fans and the players. And SAP is delighted to be the official sponsor of the Ryder Cup. We're very proud.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, there you go.
Oh, he led audience clapping in.
They
That
put a
was
little.
That was the signal was that he just went like that. He was turned on the mic.
He put a little putting green on, so maybe that's why he's nervous. He's going to try a putt.
Partnership deserves a great launch. So please welcome on stage Luke Donald and Jim Furwick.
Oh, okay. I know these guys. I don't know if they're still active.
I don't think they are. They were like 10, 15 years ago, right?
Well, I think Luke Donald is younger than Jim Furyk, I think.
Well, Furyk, yeah, look at Furyk. He's definitely older.
Welcome, Jim and
No, they're both pretty old.
Great to be here, and thank you for being a
I
part
think
of the Ryder
Luke
Cup.
went along with Tiger, maybe a
of
couple
the
years
European team.
behind him.
And Jim, you are the vice captain of the US Ryder Cup team. So together, when I'm not mistaken, you celebrated over 50 professional wins, almost 50 professional wins on the tour.
Wow.
That's right?
I believe so.
Yeah, see, I did my math.
This is so awkward.
I know.
So, hey,
No,
I'm not sure
no,
if
it's
you
wrong.
ever,
Completely
joined the
wrong.
Tech Conference,
It was 90.
But I want to now build the bridge from tech to golf, because over the weekend I read an article, and the article said golf is actually one of the most unpredictable sports in the world. Luke,
This is so
share with us
awkward.
what is so unpredictable?
I don't think he
about
knows
golf?
much about golf.
Well, many things, and obviously, especially when it's related to Ryder Cup.
What does it even mean to say golf is one of the most unpredictable sports? Every sport is unpredictable until the game has an outcome. It's like, who's going to win? Oh, it's definite they're going to win, and then they don't.
fortunate to be able to do this for a second time, so I have a little bit of an advantage with that one. But another big thing in golf is controlling what you can control. There's so many things out of your control. The weather, the crowd, the bounces you get. But you can control your effort, your attitude, the way you prepare, your routines, all that kind of stuff. So understanding that in a Ryder Cup
Fjord is pretty
atmosphere
tall.
is important. And then just having a plan.
Yeah.
I think that's always important for all of us. I know I've felt the most nervous on a golf course when the week before I haven't really prepared or practiced the right way. But if I do put in the work, then you have some sort of assurances that you're going to be able to, have a good idea
This
of
is
what
going
you're gonna
longer
do on the
too.
course.
Yeah. And Luke, you said something very right also for us in business. Having a plan always helps. And Jim, you played actually Ryder Cup 9 times. I mean, I have just seen this video full of emotions and passion by the people, by the fans.
Things I do
but of
not
course also by the
understand.
players. What is your most favorite memory?
Well, I think you'd start with the successful events. Europe has gotten the better of us here in the last 20 years, and those 9 events I played in, I think we only won 2 Ryder Cups.
Damn,
but
good.
the great comeback at Brookline definitely sticks in my mind. But I think really the memories that we all remember on both sides, both Europe and the United States, is really the camaraderie. I had captains that are now in their 70s, maybe even 80 years old. I've played with, or captain players that are in their early 20s. So it's been 6 decades, 7 decades of some of the best American players that I've been involved with in the team room, and the friendships and the camaraderie and the bonds that we've made throughout those events will be, that's what I'll take with me throughout my life for the best memories.
Fjord is actually younger than I am.
So Jim and Luke, I mean, my sports activities are focused on skiing, tennis, and golf. I already shared that before, so far only mini golf. So, but it would be a missed opportunity having the 2 of you in States and not doing a little competition. Would you be up for that?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go. Yeah.
Not like that was pre-planned. I'm sure that was very spontaneous.
Oh, you mean that little hole was a surprise?
Or comes closest is the winner. Is this okay?
Sure.
Closest to the
If
pin.
I'm the winner, I qualify for the Ryder Cup.
Well, that's why I have 6 picks. Well, the US have 6 picks. Obviously, you'd have to
I think,
be on our
honestly,
team.
Luke, in my perspective, that would be a wonderful idea.
Well, he won't qualify right now. The U.S. citizen.
Okay, because you are my guest, you start, and I learn by watching. Okay? Who wants to start?
What do you think?
I'll go. Sure.
Since you own the trophy, I think it's only best.
You get to tee off first in New York.
So wait, closest to the putting green? I mean, to the
hole, yes.
Closest to the flag in the hole.
Pretty hard not knowing the speed, but we'll give it a
Yeah.
go.
Look out!
Oh, we almost got it.
That was a good
Yeah.
Good try there.
This is the only good thing in the whole entire
I have
keynote.
to admit yesterday a bit.
Okay.
More than for the keynote.
You got to have a plan, remember.
Whoa, no. He went wide.
Yeah.
You want this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is gonna be funny.
I hope he gets it, actually.
Now it's your time.
Just because I think it would be great. I'm rooting for you, Christian.
I
Come
would be
on.
surprised if they have some kind of weird thing in that ball to make sure it goes in.
Right. It's radio controlled.
Nope.
No. He almost made it like a pool.
Luke hit the best putt.
I got closest.
Team you. So I
Yeah,
got
Luke
qualified, but
won.
it was really
By far,
fantastic
yeah.
That you joined us here at Sapphire, and we are very, very proud sponsor of the Ryder Cup. So I wish you, the 2 of you, all the best and enjoy Ryder Cup. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Well, that was nice.
That was pleasant for sure.
Yep.
So,
Why is he walking around with a golf club?
Keynote. No, everyone did a good job. Yeah, don't interpret anything into the para. So, I want to say thank you. A really big thank you for joining us today. Together, we have seen how the SAP Business Suite infused with Business AI help you in times of uncertainty, and how we help you to get there faster, simpler, and at lower cost. Let me finish this keynote with a personal commitment, which is really dear to my heart. We will continue to listen to your needs. We will continue to deliver great innovations. And we will stay by your side along the entire journey, especially in times of uncertainty, so that you can run your business in sheer harmony. Thanks a lot.
All right. So that was just shy of 2 hours.
Wow, they came in under.
Let's get rid of that. Yeah, let me get rid of this. All right. So first impressions.
They weren't great. On the one hand, technologically, even though they mostly showed screens, just slide screens, really. I'm sure that with all their innovations and the like, all their additions to what they're doing, I'm sure their AI is very capable. I don't know that, but I'm given the outcomes and results that they're presenting, which are unfortunately just static. I don't doubt it. I like very much the integration of Joule with Now. I just think that's important, and again, I don't know how well that integration works or anything like that. I am happy for their partnership with Adobe as much as it was passed over. I think on the whole, however, that they blew a lot there. One, the lack of conversation whatsoever about CX or CRM or even sales was actually an absurdity. And they gave it lip service. They said the word sales twice and customer experience was written twice. And that was it with any discussion. And it literally got included in 4 categories. They said, named it 3, and then said when it came to CRM, CX, and more. I mean, that was so they clearly have zero commitment to it, which basically, from my standpoint, kind of writes them off altogether because I'm not an ERP guy and I'm retired. So that's one thing. The second thing is from the standpoint of, and I think we made this clear throughout, the whole 2 hours was, other than a little teeny bit at the very end with the golf play, it was missing a right brain, the whole thing. There was no emotional content. And, given the nature of a keynote, nature of a conference, it was absurd that they wouldn't do that. And they had a lot of customers, but the customers were talking about derived revenue or efficiencies of one kind or another. Nothing about social good at all. Nothing about philanthropic or social good. They mentioned the word sustainability in the beginning, and he mentioned, abstractly macroeconomic conditions, but that was about it when it came to anything beyond the technology that was there. This is a company, SAP. It's not SAP, the software suite or the cloud end-to-end enterprise. They claim to be end-to-end without talking about CRM, CX, or customer engagement technologies that they offer. They're not an end-to-end platform, nor are they an end-to-end ecosystem. So, maybe they have it, but there's no evidence. So on the whole, I'd say, if I'm grading it, I'd give it a D, C minus maybe at best. But the reality is, and again, look, I pointed out my biases in the very beginning, and I have them, and there's no question. And you don't treat people badly and expect them to not be bothered. I was. That said, I was literally trying to make sure that wasn't interfering with this, and unfortunately, it might sound like it is, but it isn't. This is literally just this was not a success in anything fundamental, at least in the part of the world that we're in. Maybe it is to some IT people. I don't know. I can't speak to them, but I can speak to what I was expecting, what I saw and what I heard, and what I thought was missing. And given that, between us, we have dozens and dozens of years of experience with all of these platforms and companies and conferences and keynotes and SAP, almost 20 years. this wasn't even a good one by their standards. So I'll leave it at that. What do you think?
And I always, well, at least this year, I'll say, I think of this in the context of the keynotes, the opening keynotes at these huge vendors are going to be the most eyeballs, the most attention that they're going to get throughout the year, because it's not just the people in the room, as we saw with Jensen's GTC keynote, 40 million people or 40 million views, and those are not people in the room. So this is like the biggest opportunity throughout the year to get people's attention. And what do you do with that attention? How do you transfer that attention into a really good story beyond the bits and bytes? Because bits and bytes don't keep 40 million people's attention.
Right.
That's the context. And of course, the other context is, you said we are CRM CX people. So we're looking at these keynotes through the lens of opportunity and the lens of where does CX fit into your story. All right, so given all that, there really wasn't much.
No, and they claim, the problem is they claim it is in their story, and they literally showed nothing to prove that claim. Nothing.
Well, I think what they showed, and we kind of touched on this, very great, good technological stuff.
Yeah.
Very the technical capabilities are as well as any of the big 5 or 6 from just the sheer technical. I do not doubt that the stuff that they addressed, they can do. We're just giving them the pass on that because, like you said, the demos were very scripted and just really screenshots and stuff like that. Well, that one demo was really good.
Yeah.
I forget the young lady's name. She did a really good job. But CX and CRM are, I guess, combined are the 2 biggest enterprise buy in terms of software. You would think it would be a little bit more of importance, but as we said, they mentioned it just kind of in passing mentions. And I can't get by the fact that a lot of the leadership at ServiceNow actually came from SAP. So SAP had the kind of people that we know can move the needle and build a tremendously successful CRM CX business. But yet and still, they weren't able to do that when they were at SAP. Now they're at ServiceNow. They are. So those people didn't change. They're still intelligent. They're still smart, still experienced. But it feels like something did not allow them to do all the things that they're able to do at ServiceNow. And it feels like the way that the lack of focus on CX really did show through in this keynote. So I can't help but think it's just a secondary thing for them. And it was kind of treated like that. And that's the overarching theme. They showed a lot. They were right about the Joule Walk Me combination. I think there's some great technical opportunities or capabilities, but in the context of CX, who knows what that means, because they didn't really talk about it.
No.
So I think that's the bottom line for me is that, and of course the production, the technical production was great. It really, everything came off without a hitch, but there was no experiential kind of stuff shown. There was there's no showcraft. We talked about up until the last 5 minutes, they showed the video vignette of the Ryder Cup, but all the customers that came on, what I'm used to now is seeing those little video vignettes that really get to the core of what a customer is for them and what the company is about the customer, and then you're able to go into the conversation. We didn't have any of that. We missed some of the really, I think, post-COVID components that you really should have. You didn't have like a pre-show We didn't have like that build up, the anticipation to get you to the opening. Matter of fact, it kind of opened almost sort of like we're in the middle of the
Right.
show, you know.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things, and I'll do the caveat. I don't have a working relationship with SAP at the moment. I don't feel like I've been dissed or anything. It's a lot of the people that we knew and were capable, and we've seen them be capable of other places now. They're not there anymore. So my connection, my direct connection right now, there is not one. But I did want to point that out just to say, you know, all the things that we're talking about. I don't know. Take it for what it's worth. If you feel like we're jaded or they're talking because there is no connection, I just wanted to put that out there. So
yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah, judge everything you said with whatever grains of salt you'd like.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, ultimately, though, I will tell you this: when you're watching what we're watching, obviously there's going to be some coloration based on lack of relationship or bad relationship, but what you see, and and also what you don't see that you're expecting to see, you don't see, right? So
let's put it like this: ServiceNow calls themselves, their messaging is about being a CRM company.
Yeah,
you ain't getting that message over here.
No, again, I get that, but don't, and I can even roll with that. I mean, Oracle really doesn't purely message as a CRM company, but they message with CRM and CX as a really important component of their end-to-end capability.
Right.
And, you know, in Oracle, because they got the hardware and the software, are probably the only ones who can make the actual end-to-end claim, right? SAP can't even make that claim now. Not until they show some CRM CX consideration. They can't make it. You can't look again. It's what I said earlier with Microsoft. Microsoft understands that, look, Dynamics is never going to be a giant revenue producing part of their business, even though, as I said, for every other company on the planet, it's a giant revenue producing business by itself. But not for them. For them, though, they've always understood, and they really have, and I know this for an absolute fact because I've had these conversations with them, that business apps for them is a necessary part of their overall ecosystem and a necessary part of their platform. Necessary. So regardless of how much revenue it makes, they're not going to get rid of it because it's without it, they're incomplete. SAP does not get that, and that's clear, right? Because they seem to, at best, look, they have it, but I also know the last team of 3 they had all quit. They're all gone, every last one of them, right? One survived for the longest time, and then she left, right? So you just can't make it there. And again, that's culture. That's SAP's culture.
It's not about the people, because as you said, they get some of the best and brightest people in the industry.
Well,
it's unfortunate that those folks aren't able to do all the things that they would like to have done, but they're able to do it when they leave, which is
well. And the other downside I see with SAP over the years, unfortunately, was I've always thought of them as arguably in the past, now arguably the most innovative company I've ever seen, even include Salesforce in its heyday. But they never knew how to communicate that to anybody. But I went to Palo Alto, I saw the labs. It was astounding what they were doing. I mean, mind-blowingly, beautifully visionary. They're no longer that. They're not even innovative particularly. They're pretty much table stakesing everything now. And they're doing some smart things like the WalkMe acquisition to use WalkMe for its ubiquity, you know, but
and the Perplexity partnership. I think that those were the 2 really kind of high notes.
Yeah. And Adobe may have been a high point, but we have no idea. They just announced it and walked away from it.
Yeah.
Hey, we're aligning with Adobe. Okay, on to the next thing. But I agree with you. The Perplexity thing and the idea that you can pretty much use that, you know, as a result of that, you can be able to use SAP for anything, internal or external, is fantastic. The WalkMe ubiquity is incredible because it also means you can pretty much use SAP for anything from anywhere, right? And that's what he's kind of saying. And that obviously took WalkMe and Perplexity for that to happen. And those were smart and, to your point, the best thing that probably came out of this when it came to something at least reasonably innovative. Again, I mean, I've seen the same type of thing, as I told you, with BPM Online, now Creatio, a decade plus ago, but it was a search function, not a Gen AI. It's not an AI capability per se, but it was brilliant. So let's say this: if we don't do a Sapphire watch party next year, it doesn't bother me. Would I like to be able to do one because SAP has decided to make some time for CRM CX and CE? Yeah, I would, but I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, the opportunity for SAP to really be a significant player in the CX space, which would then make the end-to-end way more end-to-end. I think it's the opportunity is there in the carrot to be a player is there, because the better each of those components are, including CRM CX, the more complete your end-to-end can be. And so you would think that would be incentive enough to really beef it up, and also not showcase it. I mean, it's not just, we know you guys are great technically and you could put together a great application, but showcase it. I mean, show how it fits in that end-to-end, highlight it. And the biggest opportunity of the year to talk to the biggest audience of the year, it was barely mentioned. That's the unfortunate thing.
Oh, and my response to ultimately on all this is they're not going to pay any attention to what we're saying, knowing them.
That's right.
So, right. I don't really care if they do or they don't. It's up to them. So we'll see. Look, I wish them the best in most regards, and but they're going to, if they don't do the cultural fixing, it's not going to work. So they'll be 6 out of 6, and which is still a nice position to be in, a multi-billion-dollar company. But they're woefully, let's call it this way, AI or not, they're woefully lagging against the other 5, and at the same time, they're out of touch.
Yeah. And maybe a shorter keynote would help.
That would be by a full hour.
All right. We've talked a lot and we've listened to a lot. And now we're going to give you the rest of your day back. So, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
We are the CRM Playaz. And we'll be back on our usual time, Thursday.
See you Thursday at 3.
Later.